Oh no. Somebody say something for me, please.
Hey,
Hello,
what's up?
hello, testing.
Oh no. Okay. So I'm going to have to cut off this beginning part of the video, which is mostly just me describing Fari, so that's not really a big deal. Turns out I did not have the audio connection on. I was finally looking at the audiogram or the audio mixer, and I'm like, glad we didn't get into the meat of the game.
Oh, I see what you mean. You can hear
Yeah.
us. Okay,
Yeah. So what it means is like the video got me, but the video did not get your voices. So it's all pantomime. All right. I see
I don't
that.
think we said that much though, so I think we're all right.
Yeah, we are. All right.
But
Great.
I have messed with Vari before. In fact, I contribute on the Patreon too.
Okay. Great. Yeah, I do too. So gotta keep that development going. And he's cranking out stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, like I think his wife is about to have a baby. So
Ooh,
like,
yeah.
yeah. So he's just cranking out. All right. So it looks like, Jason, you've got a character sheet. Craig, you do not have a character sheet. Are you doing all right? Or do you want me to create a character sheet for you?
I have a character sheet. I just didn't put a name in because do I?
Oh,
Do
then
you
you're going to have,
see that
you're going to have to hit save on it, I think, to share it with the rest of us.
Are you seeing it?
I see that
I see
you.
Pierre.
I see
Yeah.
Pierre, but I don't see the character sheet. Did you load a template?
I got to load a template, and we're doing
Okay.
fake condensed. Sorry, my
That's
bad.
that's all right.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
pared mine down a little bit. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Now am I where you need to be?
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So, as I explained earlier, we're going to do 3 aspects. That's the first thing we're going to do. After we're done with aspects, we're going to do skills. And then after skills, we're going to do stunts. And then after that, we're going to take a short break so that everybody can kind of get up, stretch your legs, and I can write down a couple of ideas, and then we'll come back and we'll start. So you can create a high concept, a trouble, and then your third aspect can be like literally anything you want it to be. You can also, if you are inclined, leave it empty until an appropriate moment, like in the session, and then you can be like, oh, well, it turns out I'm a really good shot, and add that aspect to like, to use it. The same is also going to be true of skills, although my recommendation is that you pick like your number 4 skill, your 4 rank skill, and your 2-3 rank skills. That way you know what you're good at. And then if you're going to leave any open, leave maybe 2s and 1s open or not, depending on how you'd like to play. So go ahead and work on your high concept and your trouble.
So it looks like we've decided who's the French guy and who's the American. I'm guessing.
I was just typing one in because like it was like bugging me to not have a name. But
yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. All right.
You're the American. I'm the French guy.
Okay.
Do we want to be deliberate in how we create these, or should we each just do what we?
I like the
do?
collaborative sort of thing. So, am I the local guide who knows the lay of the land? Do we still want to go with that? And then I'm more of like a strong arm, or am I more of the bookish type? Or are we going to have complementary mixes of each? Like maybe one of us is good with the physical, and the other one's good with like a gun or a rocket, like some sort of Tesla coil or something.
Well, and one thing I want to mention is that unlike other role-playing games, we don't need to make sure that like our bases are covered on certain things.
Yeah, sure.
I wouldn't recommend like double, with it just being the two of you. I wouldn't like, one of you has academics at 4 and the other has academics at 3. Right. But you could both be like spies, like good spies, or you could both be good academics. It's just, I think the conceit that we have is Pierre is, a French foreign national who's coming to the United States because of some sort of magical MacGuffin. And Quinn is there to be like the local guide to make sure that, Pierre can get around in the United States.
Okay. Um,
So I'm feeling Pierre more academic.
okay.
Um,
And I'm definitely feeling like a bit more like I was watching the Winter Soldier stuff, and I like the arm that Bucky has. I'm not thinking full on arm, but like a hand, like a decently workable like hand, as opposed to just like a like something I have to like it. It just works. It's like it's a Tesla design, is what we could say.
Well, it could be all the way up to the elbow as well.
I'm down with that.
so
Um,
what if there's a weird World War One kind of thing, and Quinn's a veteran and got cybered up, World War One version cybered up a little bit, like
That's-
with the hand is a
Yeah.
thing.
yeah, I like the idea of like as a volunteer for this, as opposed to like it was necessary after I lost to something.
Okay.
It might be too obscure of a reference, but there's that Deus Ex game where he's like, "I never asked for this," and it's like my concept is like robot hand. I asked for this.
Cool.
Um, I've only played one Fate game as with a pre-gen before, so I'm still a little iffy on like writing out a good aspect.
Well, one of the things to remember is that an aspect is shorthand for a shared understanding of what that aspect represents. Okay, so like for instance, if your high concept was Batman, we all here have a shared understanding of kind of like what it means to be Batman, like the superhero aspect of Batman. And so like with the high concept, like it doesn't have to be perfectly written because, it's not like we're going to go over it with a fine tooth comb. It's the interpretation of it that is the understanding. Like, like someone could have an aspect that's called give that back. And in one group, it could be because like this person is like, hunting artifacts to bring back to a place. And in another case, it could just be like somebody who's just really greedy, and it's all based on the shared understanding of what that aspect means.
Okay.
So yeah, I think it's more important to figure out like what your concept of the aspect is. We can talk through it and kind of workshop it. I like writing aspects. I like making pithy ones, but they don't have to be, is what I'm getting at.
Okay. Well, I think his name was Clint in the Rocketeer, the Rocketeer. I really like his. He could throw a punch, but he was also very quick thinking. He wasn't like some of these heroes are like a little thick sometimes.
Yeah.
So I like being able to think quickly and like have what would that be like? I don't know. Fast punches, faster thinking.
That'd be notice or athletics.
Well, yeah, but we'll get to the skills a bit.
Oh
later.
yeah, your aspect.
But then, like, what's the double edge? Like, I've
Well,
read the Fate book before, so I was like, what's
Yeah.
Looks
the
tough.
how do we like invoke
Looks
that?
tough, thinks fast.
Say that again.
Looks tough, thinks fast. Something in that neighborhood.
Yeah, I mean that works for me.
So this is about like being like reacting fast, and like just. Sorry, tell me the overview of what you're trying to communicate with this.
I guess it's like kind of like a classic swashbuckler protagonist who is really good at like improving their way through like a tough situation.
Okay.
So like in the Rocketeer, he like put like that little bit of soup in his girl's, or not the little bit, like that little note in that his girlfriend's soup to like get her away from the Nazi guy.
Yeah.
He was disguised as a waiter. Kind of like, it's yeah.
Yeah, that So that kind of like I mean, honestly, like that could boil down to an aspect that's just clever.
Mm.
Okay.
but then again, like, so like clever is good and that gives like a lot of broad appeal, but it could also, you know, we can kind of, if we wanted to, we could focus it too. You know, like, you know, clever at escaping, you know, or gets out of trouble fast, you know, something along those lines that makes it,
Yeah, like slippery.
yeah, a little bit. And the thing is like, by doing that too, like something like clever is kind of, it's a little bit harder to compel because it's like, what's the downside to being
like,
clever?
Where's the downside?
But if it's, fast it escapes, you know, that's great because you can compel, like, yeah, you got out of the frying pan, but now you're in the fire, you know, because like you escaped so quick, you didn't realize where you were escaping to, and now you have a new problem. And so what that does is that makes it more interesting. I know that some players hesitate to like make an aspect that has like, you know, something that's like compellable or easily compelled, but honestly, compels make the game. And
Right, yeah, that's why I don't want something that's too like Mary Sue, I guess.
Yeah. Now, is this, quick escapes would be a good like third aspect in this instance. What are you thinking of for like your high concept?
Well, I like the robot hand sort of thing again. Like, it's still a disability, but it definitely sets me apart and gives me advantages.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is like you could, I mean, this is totally something that I would write. But it could be like if you wanted to like lean into like the strongman thing, like it could always, the high concept could be, I'll hand it to you, indicating that like basically like you've got this Tesla designed hand, and you use it to punch things. And like the aspect is ridiculous and flavorful, and we've got a shared understanding of it, as opposed to something, Oh, go
I
ahead.
don't know if this is mixing the trouble too much, but it could be something like steel hand, glass jaw as my high concept. Like, I look tough and I can definitely lay it down, but maybe I just can't take a hit very well.
Yeah, I would separate those two things out because like if you were describing your character, like the high concept generally is like, tell me about your character. Oh, well, he's a vain paladin. It's like, that's like, how you would describe the character,
Maybe I do look
tough
for a
as
fight
nails
club.
and good at fails, like
How about has a steel hand and isn't afraid to use it? Like maybe
good.
I like look with the understanding, as you were phrasing it, that maybe I do look for a reason to use it. Like maybe I'm still working some stuff out post-war.
All right, that sounds good. Go ahead and write that one down.
All
right, let's switch to Craig for a moment. Craig, I see you've got a high concept there. Why don't you tell me about that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking, well, what it says. So he's French, so I'm putting that in play. Then the idea, I'm trying to stay away from too tropey. So the one would be he's some sort of Professor Jones kind of, and I didn't want to do that, but I also didn't want to do Hercule Poirot, who's Belgian, but never mind. So I got like this is like the French government calls in this guy who's maybe a professor or maybe he's in a ministry somewhere in a job, but he's also the guy they call in when things go pear-shaped because he's just got a way of stealing the thing, finding the thing, making the problem go away.
Okay.
So he's a quasi-government or pulled in by the government to fix delicate international problems with a combination of sort of thievy criminal skills, but also intelligence and knowledge, which I'm thinking is more lore than academics, but it could go either way. Something like that. And I don't know that that's the most exciting way to say that, but that's
so
what I'm thinking.
There's kind of two things that I want to unpack that are kind of in that statement. One is being like a top secret troubleshooter, which is someone that the French government would call in to solve problems. And then the other is being a a high intelligence like professor. And having like that kind of knowledge. I think like those two things feel very separate to me because like you've got, and so like, I think like which of those two are you leaning more towards as like generally like as like the character could have an additional aspect. Like the third aspect could be like, adjunct professor or professor emeritus from an institution. Which would then kind of like lean into and give you both of these things. But like the high concept would still be like French top secret troubleshooter.
Good. Yeah, that works. And it depends on how skilled we want to be, because we could flip it and make him the academic guy who is they call in from time to time. But it probably makes more sense that I'm a troubleshooter who, when he's not troubleshooting, is working at the Sorbonne as a professor of whatever. You'll give us a hint as to what neighborhood the MacGuffin is, and we'll line it up with that.
Yeah, it's gonna be in the central United States. So. Because that's part of the reason why occasionally I get distracted. I'm trying to get ahead of the game on my end. So, yeah, French top secret troubleshooter sounds good. I think that your third aspect can be like professor emeritus, which basically means retired professor. But like once you get your tenure as a professor, basically like you never lose it. Like it's tough to lose it. And so like professor emeritus, why don't we make it professor emeritus of ancient American artifacts? Because that will tie into like why you're going, where you're going, and tie into like what we have and provide you with like some information and some context.
Perfect.
And so good. All right. So think on your trouble a little bit. And I'm going to switch back to Jason. So Jason, you've got a steel hand and you're not afraid to use it, which is good. Because it's going to come into play. What are you thinking about for your trouble aspect for Quinn?
Maybe I don't know how like where the thing is gonna go, but like one idea I have is like maybe I should have turned this hand back in for like a wooden one at the end of the war, and I didn't. That's one idea. Another one is that I tried a little bit of doing like mob muscle stuff, and then even though like it worked out for me in terms of providing my violent talents, I still didn't have the stomach for it, where I didn't believe in it like the mobsters do.
Yeah.
Like I didn't really have skin in the game. And then yeah, those are like the first two that like come to mind. And I don't know how troublesome, like I feel like being like almost like a federal criminal might be like a little bit too much. But
yeah, so let's start thinking in terms of ways to create conflict for yourself and also tie into some of the things that we already know. So we know that we've got this French top secret troubleshooter coming back or coming to the United States, and you're basically going to be like showing him around. Okay. We know that this is a professor emeritus of ancient American artifacts. One of the things that we could do with your trouble aspect is one thing that we could do is we could tie it into your hand. We could make it like random mechanical failures for your steel hand. I don't think that's particularly fun, but it's just we're on the idea train. Sure. Another thing that we can do is We don't know what the power source for the steel hand is. Like it could be like, the hand that you have has some kind of like strange thing powering it that you have no idea what it is. You just don't have clearance to be told what it is. You think it's batteries. But your trouble aspect tells us that like, we don't know what powers it.
Okay, yeah, that's good. It has a bit of mystery.
Yeah, and could be potentially tied into like all of these things, and that provides us with a little bit more story. And we can like move away from the hand as well, talk to the hand, so to speak. We can try and so World War One has just ended, and so maybe you were for the United States in World War One, maybe you were against the United States in World War One, maybe maybe you don't like the French, maybe you overly like the French. I'll be honest, the one that I lean towards most is the unknown power source for the hand.
Yeah, I think let's go with that.
Okay. Yeah. All right, so let's bounce back to you, Craig. Tell me about your trouble.
So I'm thinking I was going to go with either, super moral, or the one I've got typed in is by any means necessary. So that can be good for me, but it could also mean that I blow the building up around us in an overreach. So, and you can compel it to make me do stuff that's going to backfire.
Yeah.
But it's a lot.
Well, honestly, as far as the trouble goes, it doesn't feel like a trouble.
Okay.
It feels like you're able to accomplish things by any means necessary. So that like it leads to trouble, and I can definitely see ways to complicate, to use compels for that, but it's not a trouble, because the thing about troubles is that it should be something that like generates more compels than it aids you. Like for instance, Quinn's trouble of unknown power source. Like it's entirely possible that Quinn can use that to invoke, but more often than not, it's going to be like, why the fuck is this thing glowing? Why are we irradiated? Why is my hair falling out? So Pierre, let's. So it seems like you're leaning on the end of like being a little bit more bloodthirsty, a little bit more rough, a little bit more dangerous than you need to be.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, because usually like being bloodthirsty is a boon, because it's like, well, I'm bloodthirsty, so of course I'm going to kill the guy faster. But, at the same time, like, I can work with that. Something like that. I don't know that any means necessary is the way to do it. Maybe if it was something like extreme measures, because then it can be like, you always like go to the extreme.
Right.
It's like, oh, well, if somebody's in your way, you kill them. If there's a door, you're going to kick it down.
Right.
All that kind of stuff. And I can definitely play with that. This is one of those places where in some games, extreme measures wouldn't be a trouble. But in this game, I'm going to be writing it in such fashion that it will be a trouble.
Right.
Because obviously, if you go to extreme measures all the time, it's not gonna really solve a lot of problems.
So, but I also don't want to make this a pain in everybody's butt where we can't navigate situations too. So I'm willing to be redirected in a different way too, if that's just too painful.
So it could be something more like the first, you do the first destructive thought that comes in your head. Or you're tempted by that, is maybe how it could be phrased. Path of least resistance.
Yeah, I mean, if we could tie this to World War I, I could be mentally damaged from having been somebody's prisoner, but I don't know how that gets me into the central United States with this active.
I mean,
maybe.
I was going to say, being honest, like I am absolutely okay with extreme measures, and I will make you regret it. I mean, we'll have fun.
Right.
So
Good.
yeah, we'll do that.
As long, because there's some characters that just become a pain in the butt for the group because you can't get anything going because, So as long as that hasn't happened, I think this would be fun.
Yeah, it'll be good. It'll cause trouble.
All
right. So Jason, your third aspect is empty. Are you still thinking about that? Are you intentionally leaving it empty?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything we can help with, or you just want a moment to think about it?
Probably I'm going to ask for help just because, like I said,
Okay.
I've only played the one Fate game before and it's pre-gen character.
Sure.
I keep thinking of like problems. I know they're like the regular aspects are supposed to be kind of like double-edged, but they usually end up being more problems than solutions.
Well, tell me what your aspect is. Sometimes I write characters that have a lot of trouble aspects. I'm really good at using those to my advantage, but I also I play my characters like stolen cars. So like if I wreck them, like that's okay.
Well, I didn't want to do.
What are you thinking?
Well, here's what I was not thinking was like I didn't want to do like like alcoholic or PTSD dealing, like kind of like violence is like how I'm dealing with it.
Yeah.
So that's why I used to be like doing muscle for the mob maybe, or like staying on as some sort of consultant for the U.S. military, which is why I still have it. The hand that is. Like I don't know. I was like thinking like back to the mob again, and like maybe my girlfriend is in it, but then I was like, well, how's that? That's more of a long-term thing than like a one shot.
Yeah, I think that the mob thing throws in yet another like layer to what we have going on here, and I don't know that. I don't know that it fits very well. But what you just said, like this idea of your character maybe had suffered and is overcoming that and is so I'm just thinking in terms of like looking at both characters, and this honestly this is just an idea, is that we have Pierre who like is this French troubleshooter who goes to extreme measures. Like we can have Quinn who has this awesome steel hand that is like really good at like punching people, who generally like doesn't try to solve problems by punching people, and is instead like really like personable. Like maybe the aspect is personable.
Okay,
like maybe maybe it's like you like thinking back to your character's past, like you've had this trauma, and what you've learned from it is that like life is short, and you've become more personable, and so you've realized that like your connection to humanity is important, and so like you focused on becoming personable, and like that's that is just like
maybe
the aspect.
Maybe something called like don't we know each other?
Yeah,
and then like
go for it.
Strike up like a conversation, even if we don't. But
yeah,
it'd be with the understanding that I usually don't know these people, but like I make it seem like we do, and we get along pretty quick.
Well, and the thing is like we can create a stunt that it literally is like you know them. So like you could play into that if you wanted to. I see that everybody has started filling out their skills, which is great. You get 4, 3, 3, 2, 2, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 to fill in. So that's great.
I'm gonna redo mine real quick.
Sure. Yeah.
And you said leave a couple of those blank that we can add. I'm not sure that I left a 1 blank, but I could take some of these out too.
Well, that's entirely up to you. Some people like to like write down their skill list because it focuses them on options. Like knowing that you have a +1 in deceive means that you would pick a deceive route over like a like using drive to try and deal with a situation. And you've, by writing it on your character sheet, you already know that you want to lean towards those sorts of decisions. Other players like to just kind of like leave it open and feel out the situation and then be like, well, you know, we really need to get out of here fast, so I'm going to, you know, pull somebody out of their car and drive us away from the scene. I'm going to assign my +1 in there and let's see what happens. It depends on your play style.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, cool.
So are we going to
yep.
talk about these? Because I've got some choices here. Like I've got shoot at 3, but no fight, which is a deliberate sort of imbalance. But I could have shoot at 2 and lore at 3 because I'm this professor troubleshooter. But I don't know if that's, I don't know which is going to make for a better game.
You know what? Pick whatever feels good to you, and how we play it out is what's going to make a good game.
Okay.
Yeah. So. Yeah, and also remember that like you get at least one stunt. And if you want to pay one of your fate points, one of your points of refresh, you can choose to have a second stunt, which means that like if you wanted to like, so that lore at 2, you could create a stunt that gives you a +2 in certain circumstances, bringing it up to a 4, so that in those circumstances you're compensating for having rated lore lower. Like that's whenever I make fate characters, I will often do that. Is I will take a skill that is a 3 or a 2, and I'll create like a stunt that makes me better at that. So that like, you know, I'm kind of balancing out my skill set so that I'm trying to like widen the things that I'm able to do reasonably well. That's just one particular like approach that you can do. Another one would be to do a stunt that backs up your apex skill and takes it like just super over the top. It varies. So I think your spread of skills look good. How do you feel about yours, Jason?
Yeah, I wasn't really paying attention to Craig's, which I think is fine. But yeah, I've got, you know, my stuff kind of squared away a little bit more around talking to people with a couple of physical stuff to that matches my high concept and my aspect.
Okay, great. Cool. All right.
And I would like to write out a stunt to start with. I was thinking of like, I have contacts of 1, and then going with your, I hadn't thought of your approach before of like bolstering like maybe a lower skill.
Yeah.
I think I'd like that to be like, kind of like, oh yeah, no, actually I do know you, like what you suggested before.
So what kind of problems are you looking for that to solve? Because like we've got a couple of different things that we can do with stunts. Like we can give +2 to a certain type of action with contacts. So like create advantage, overcome, attack, defend. Attack and defend are going to come up less often with contacts, but we can do like just a flat bonus in certain circumstances. We can also do things like once per scene, you may, declare that you have met an NPC before and just get to know one of their aspects. And so like, there's no dice roll, there's no like overcoming a particular thing, but if it fills in the flavor of like, oh, I totally know John, and they may not remember you, but that John is married with children, and the fact that like he's a guard here in this base, he's not necessarily going to take big risks that unmarried soldiers at the base would take.
Right. So. Yeah. I like that. The once per scene sort of thing. That like, as a guide, like, oh yeah, I do know the lay of the land. I do know the people here. Yeah.
So.
So once per scene, I can declare
that you've met
I
someone
know
before.
an NPC, or what did you say?
That you've met one NPC in the scene before, and I will give you one aspect. So, yeah, you don't get any free invokes on it or anything, but you do know it, and you can, once you know it, you can do what you will with that information. So,
okay, so I've got that in there now.
All right, great. You will not see it on the little like character cards in Fari. Yeah, if you want to see that in the character cards of Fari, you can actually, if you go into your character sheet and click the like advanced toggle, there is a little eye with a slash through it. If you uncheck that, then it will show up on the card in the little character area. Pardon me for yawning. I've had a long day. All right. So Craig, how are you doing on stunts? I see you've got one in here. Talk to me about that.
Yeah. So because I'm a professor, I am +2 at creating aspects using ancient American lore. So knowing the way that the pyramid is built, I can I know that there's a place to hide, or that because I understand something, I can speak to somebody in person. I'm creating aspects, so I can create an aspect of something that gives me a +2 on persuasion rolls or stuff like that. Okay. So that's what I'm thinking.
All right, sounds good to me.
Okay,
I like it. Cool. Oh, I see. Craig has added all sorts of stuff to check out here. I like that. That's a good setup to the card. All right. So we have our aspects and our skills and our stunts. How's everybody feeling about their characters?
Great.
Yeah, I'm feeling good. Ready to start.
Excellent. What I'm going to ask is that we take a 14-minute break. That will put us at 1/2 the hour. So everybody can kind of like stretch their legs, take a bio break if you need one, whatever the case might be, and meet back here at 1/2 the hour. Sound good?
Cool. Sounds good.
Great. So we're going to leave Zoom on and just step away, right?
Yeah, just turn off your video and mute yourself, and we'll be back at 1/2 the hour. All right. I hope everybody enjoyed the little break.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. All right. Let me just get a couple of sheets of paper so that I can take notes. I love index cards. They are my favorite things.
Sometimes I wonder like how much of the index card industry Fate is responsible for versus like do students even use index cards anymore? I don't know.
I don't. Nope.
No, Quizlet and all those sorts of things.
See, I tell you what, I remember back in the day having just like a binder clip full of these for my hipster PDA. So it was great because like if I needed more sheets, I just added more sheets. If I needed to reorganize it, I just one idea per note, just move the notes around. I have considered going back to that. Digital doesn't solve everything. It solves a lot, but not everything. All right, so we have Pierre Albert and Quinn Meridian. All right, let's see. So Pierre, you are traveling by boat over to the United States. Your like mission is to recover an ancient American artifact. It is an artifact that the Pawnee people of the plains of North America, the Pawnee people were in the they still are in the Nebraska area of the United States, and so the Pawnee have they've got this rich history of like, okay, so going back into it, so you as a professor emeritus of ancient American artifacts knows that the Pawnee were probably the most religious group of Native Americans on the plains in North America. The head of their deities was Tirawa, and Tirawa was the creator of the universe. Tirawa is a purely spiritual being, and had other heavenly gods helping him and to like guard the people. Okay. All of these heavenly gods were identified with stars. Okay. And the most important of these stars were the morning and the evening stars, which represent the male and the female principles of the Pawnee religion. Okay, so the other gods were earth gods who were like special guardians of individuals and secret societies. You know, like sometimes they were associated with animals, whatever the case may be. You, in your research, have uncovered through like one of the nice things about being a modern professor, a thoroughly modern professor in the 1930s, is that you've got like all of these audio recording devices, allowing you to have captured the voice of oral traditions of like, you know, Native Americans, of these Pawnee. You know, because their traditions are very oral. So as a result, there's not really much of a written record. But you've like been going through these stories and everything and have basically kind of uncovered that, that these like, you know, all of this talk of stars, you do believe that they had a particularly powerful artifact or series of artifacts. You're not entirely sure. Like it's not as direct as kind of like, you know, Dr. Henry Jones, one of your peers, firmly believes that the Holy Grail, you know, sits in a valley of the crescent moon. If only he could find out where it was, because there's no names for his map. But you know that there are that there's something there. There's just the way that the oral traditions have been. You really think that there's something there. War is brewing among Europe. Like, you know, World War I was devastating. The trenches were horrible, but at the same time, like, you know, the powers that be in Europe are really kind of just, they're modernizing, they're fighting. There's a lot of tension over a lot of their like colonialism, which I can only presume that you detest, given the treatment of the Pawnee in North America by the United States. So all of this is to say that you believe that there is some kind of ancient American like artifacts or power there that the Pawnee may have. And so the French government agrees. There's been a lot of like exploration around the world of like trying to find these weird things. And so you're going to America for this very purpose. The French government has told you that you are to meet up with your liaison. His name is Quinn Meridian. And Pierre, why don't you tell me what the French government told you to expect out of Quinn when you meet him?
That he is, hang on. So is there an I'm not sure I'm in the right place on Fari to see all of mine or his stuff. So
if you, okay, so let me go ahead and I'm going to share my screen. And generally you should be able to see some of the same things that I do. Hold on. I need to grab the right window, which it does not want to give me. That's desktop.
Would I normally watch this in my browser or?
You can watch this in your browser because I'm not going to be sharing this. So on the screen right here, you can take a look at this and reference this. This is where, like, under public, I'm going to be posting aspects and NPCs for you to reference. And then with the characters, you can take a look at what is showing here, and you can also click on the little like person here, which when you hover over it, it'll say open character sheet, and it will actually pop up an overlay that shows you the character sheet. So So yeah, you'll want to be in your own browser window with Fari.
So I'm going to click on the little face, and up comes his character sheet. Is how I see it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Got
now,
it.
bear in mind, I'm asking you what Pierre Aubert has been told about Quinn Meridian.
Right.
Not so that, like, I mean, you can make it accurate if you want to, but it's more, you know.
I was told that he is. So should I collaborate? I mean, I'm going to make stuff up that
this is
stick with him, right?
This could just be more my reputation, like what you were told, as opposed to like what is actually the truth.
Okay.
Yeah. So what I'm doing right now as a GM is so let me back up just a little bit. Part of my GMing style is to ask a lot of questions of the players to fill in gaps. Okay. So like sometimes I'll say, you know, the next room is incredibly dangerous. Jason, tell me what's the big danger there. And then I'll be like, okay, Craig, you know, tell me something interesting that's in the room that might help you get past that danger. And in that way, we are collaborating on things that are going on. So that allows us to build together. The reason I ask, like, what are you expecting, is to give you an opportunity to be a little bit like fun, if you want to, and be like, oh, well, I'm expecting, you know, you can color it through your character's eyes, you know, or like, you know, or it could be something that's respectful. You know, I might say something along the lines of like, if I was playing the French troubleshooter, you know, I'm going to be burdened down with this, you know, overly patriotic American who's going to try and like, you know, just tell me about how great America is and how wonderful, you know, how successful things were in World War I. Just by way of, you know, just an idea. So what is Pierre been told to expect from Quinn?
He's been told to expect that there is this American who is rough around the edges, but has been of value to the French government in the past, and that he can be quite useful, but I'm thinking that there's no way that he knows as much about Native Americans as I do. So in that way, he's going to slow me down and clutter the conversations when we get out to talk to the tribes.
All right. Sounds good. Sounds good. So Quinn, question for you. Why are you running late to meet the boat as it lands in New York City?
I've lost basically all of my like per diem in a dice game.
All right. So
and I almost like cracked a tooth gritting as I like decided to let it slide and not get in a fight before this more official job I had to do.
So you've got to kind of like hoof it over to the ship as opposed to taking a taxi then.
Yeah.
All right, great. So
yeah,
Pierre,
just like a jacket and like slacks and pants, but I'm just like hauling and probably in like just boots as well.
Yeah. So you're hauling ass. Pierre, whenever you get off of the boat in New York City, you see a man standing before you, rather, reasonably well dressed for an American. The tie is askew, a little bit loose, the top button's undone. He introduces himself as Quinn Meridian and says, "You are Professor Pierre Aubert?"
I am.
Excellent. It is a pleasure to meet you, Dr. Aubert. If you will come with me, your taxi is waiting right over here.
Okay. I follow him.
All right.
I come around the corner and I'm just like looking for like Frenchman professor. I'm just thinking like waxy mustache and like a beret. Like I shout like something in French like bonjour croissant.
So as you kind of like come running into the scene, you see this gentleman kind of shepherding Dr. Aubert into the back of a taxi and says, Dr. Aubert, we will take you to your hotel. And he kind of like puts the luggage in the back, slams the trunk down, and he gets in and the taxi takes off.
Okay.
So Quinn, what do you want to do? You now have like heard confirmed that someone else has picked up Pierre, and that can't be good, right? I mean, you were assigned to handle this.
Yeah. I like look around as like see, as I was like almost accusingly, like you just like let this Frenchman get like just whoever's around. I don't really notice if they're like maybe if someone looks shifty. I'm maybe gonna like stalk them down and like point very pointedly with my robot hand, like do that tap in the chest sort of thing.
Yeah.
But if I don't see anyone like that, I'm gonna huck a rock at like the back window or like the tail light or something like that to be like make it easier to find that car later.
Oh, sure, that sounds good. Go ahead and make a shoot roll for me. I'm going to set the difficulty for this at a 2. And this is going to be a create advantage because you want to create an advantage to find it later. So go ahead and that is a -2 to create advantage.
Yeah, it is.
So you've got, okay, so here's the deal. Well, I suppose I should have asked this earlier, but Jason, you've volunteered that you've played Fate before, but you've generally with pre-gens. Craig, what's your experience with Fate?
I have GM'd Fate, but I've never been a character in Fate. I've never been a player.
You know what? I've played so little Fate, but I've run so much Fate. I feel you, Craig. So Jason, you've got a choice right now. You can choose a failure.
That's right.
You could, because you have 3 negatives on the dice. So statistically, for rerolls, if you have 3 or 4 negatives, statistically, you're going to do better if you reroll.
Oh, right, yeah.
So if you decide that you want to, use an aspect to say why you'd be really good at chucking this rock, that can justify a fate point expenditure to either get a reroll or a +2 to the roll.
I'm also kind of considering succeed at a cost, but I forget.
Not with create advantage.
No, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
With overcome, yes. But with create advantage, no.
Yeah, all right. I'll spend a fate point. Do I click? Which one do I click of these things?
The left one, if you hover over it, you'll see a minus and a plus. There you go.
They both have minuses and pluses. That's why I asked.
Well, yeah, that's why I said the left one if you hover over it.
Oh, right.
Both of them will. Yeah, okay, yeah. Hover over the left one and then hit the minus button.
Okay,
I should
so
have
I did
been
that.
better. All right.
Yeah,
you can go ahead and then roll your shoot again.
Oh, well, okay. Yeah.
That's a +1.
It was a 0, so yeah.
Yeah. So, excuse me. So with that +1, that's still a failure. What would you like to do? Do you want to try and spend another fate point, or do you want to do something else? And by the way, what aspect did you use to justify that reroll?
Oh shit! I'm sorry.
That's okay. I mean, has a steel hand, isn't afraid to use it.
I feel like that's the only one that really works. Like I've kind of become a bit of a lefty ever since the operation, with with stuff like that. Yeah.
All right.
Because I feel like as a regular dude throwing a rock at a car would be like really hard to do with like a human hand. That's already like taken off. Now I heard them like say something about like, oh hey, like we're here to take you away, Professor Aubert. Did you say I heard that?
Yes, you did. We're here to take you to the hotel.
To like a hotel or like just a hotel?
You know what? That's a good question. Go ahead and give me a notice. I'm going to make the difficulty a 2. to see if you overheard the specific hotel.
There's notice.
Okay, this is an overcome roll, so you can choose to succeed at a cost at this one if you want. Or you got 3 minuses again. You could choose to like spend a fate point or succeed at a cost.
So this one I'll try out. Succeed at a cost. Now,
sure.
Will that be stress, or is it more like an aspect sort of thing?
Okay, so cost comes in a variety of different ways.
Okay.
So like I could be like, there are more thugs in a scene later, or they're like, you take a consequence or take some stress, or like it comes in a variety of different ways. For the most part, it comes, for me at least, in story complications. So for instance, you overhear the name of the hotel, but you know that it's going to take you over an hour to get there because it's like on the other side of town. So basically, because you like lost your per diem, you're going to have to be like trucking it by foot, and it's going to take you the better part of an hour to get there, which means that like whatever's going on with Pierre, like they're going to have an hour with them. So the cost is that like, there's going to be the chance for something bad happening goes up.
Okay. I kind of like that one though. Like now I'm just like, the I don't know, like the Robert Smith hotel. I'm like, that's above Central. Oh, this is gonna be a long jog. And then I take off, and yeah.
All right. So
was there any commotion behind me I could roll a notice on, or should I just sit quietly in the coach?
No, you don't really notice anything. I mean, no rocks hit the car, and like it's, people were busy getting off of a boat that's like, come over from Europe. So like there's a lot going on. I'm going to say no, nothing particular to notice. So Pierre, you get to the hotel. The hotel's a really fancy, like ritzy affair. It feels very old world. You feel, a little bit kind of at home. They tell you that the bellhop, I think that's the right word, will take care of the luggage. And we're going to, get you to your room. They show you to your room. It's very like, it's extravagant. Apparently this Quinn Meridian does things like top notch, which is really weird because like you heard that he was going to be rough around the edges. But Quinn, in conversation, seems very like, very gregarious, very easy to talk to. And Quinn is just like, yes, Dr. Aubert, we've got everything ready for you. In fact, we've got some materials. We've got some fresh audio recordings from the Pawnee. If you'd like to listen to it, maybe it'll be able to provide you some insight. We've been doing some of our own research into trying to find the Pawnee artifacts. And so, we can actually sync up a little bit since the previous telegram that we received that you were on your way. We've been kind of diving in and doing our own research.
Very good. I'm well rested. I've been on a boat, sleeping and eating well. I'm ready to listen to the recordings and try to get more information.
Excellent. He says, if you don't mind, while you're listening to the recordings, is it okay if we make mimeographs of your work so that we can have our own copies of it, so that we can have some of our administrative people kind of like helping out and making sure that nothing gets lost? So this at this point is going to be I'm going to offer you a compel.
Okay.
On Professor Emeritus of Ancient American Artifacts. This is literally your American contact, like asking you to make copies of your work. So you have a choice to make, Craig. You can either choose to accept a fate point and be like, well, I mean, isn't that how we all like benefit from like academia? Or you can spend a fate point and be like, I'm working on this. And I mean, whatever kind of like front you want to put to that, but it's very common in academia to be like, well, I'm going to be first author on this, and so I'll involve people as I choose. So that's entirely up to you. Do you want a fate point, Craig, or do you want to pay that off?
I will take the fate point.
All right, great. I'm going to go ahead and add it to your fate point pool. You now have 4 fate points. I'm going to add an aspect on the board, mimeographs of work. I'm just going to call it mimeographs of work. We know what it means. It has no free invokes on it or anything. It's just, it is a narrative truth in our game. So yes. So while this is going on, Pierre, you actually, you're working on the recordings. Let's see. Is there anything in particular that you'd like to do other than listen to the recordings, or like, I don't know. What would you like to do? You are a French top secret troubleshooter. So maybe there's something that you do when you like get in any hotel room or something.
Let's see. I am, I think, most interested in the recordings. I'm very excited to have new sources. My counterparty seems more skilled than I had expected, which I'm very pleased by. So I think the only thing I would do, I'm feeling safe and in good hands at the moment. I might take action at night or whatever, but I think I would say, when are we leaving for, where are we going, Nebraska or?
Nebraska. Yep.
Nebraska. So I'm curious as to what our itinerary is and when we'll be getting on that train to head out west.
Yes, the train leaves in the morning.
Okay.
All right. And with that, go ahead.
And if I could, I invite him to join me for dinner at the Plaza Hotel in the Oak Room. Later
certainly.
Tonight, presumably midday or something.
I tell you what, why don't we order in some room service? That way you can continue to do your work, and we don't have to be far away from the sensitive papers and audio recordings. We are in a race. We are in a little bit of a race against time, as there are others who are trying to seek these things out.
Okay. He says petulantly.
Yes. All right. Let's see. So at this point, we're going to switch back to the real Quinn. Well, first, your Quinn Meridian, kind of like you're in like the suite, and he kind of like closes the doors to like their part of the suite, and kind of like pulls out a pistol and is just like, "Yep, we're going to order in." Kind of looks over at his companions like, is that everything? And the person like nods, and the fake Quinn is just like, all right. So then we switch back to the real Quinn. Quinn, you've gotten to the hotel.
I kind of want to spend a fate point on, or maybe I don't have to, maybe I can roll first, but like, I wanted to like be like, don't I know someone here? Like I feel like I know like a busboy or like.
Well, tell me what you'd like to do. Like, yeah, I mean, you can absolutely say like, hey, I know a bellhop here. That's fine.
Yeah, sorry, that's what I was trying to think of, like a bellhop. I just want to be like, hey, did you see like a French guy like come in with like, and then I described the driver of the car or whoever I saw.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. Sorry, hold on. Yeah, Quinn, absolutely. But, I do believe that there's a case, what's the word I'm looking for? The debt that you owe me from the previous dice game. I mean, listen, I know it's only $5, but it's still $5 that can help me out.
Funny thing about that is that I feel like the favor that maybe you're gonna give me right now is worth way more than $5.
Yeah, but you owe me $5. If I do this, if I tell you this information, that's me giving you another $5.
I know, and then you'd be owed $10, and then like imagine if I owed you like $100. That's like you own me. You like rule my world at that level. But we're not even there yet. We're at 10.
Make a rapport roll, difficulty 2, as you're trying to convince him that like I'll just owe you more money. Yeah. He's like, all right, sounds good. They're in the master suite, up on the top floor.
Okay. How many of them were there besides the French guy?
Well, I mean, it's an entire suite, so like, you know, they had like, I don't know, 3 guys. Well, they had 3 people, 2 guys and a girl.
A dame. Okay. Did they call down for room service yet?
I don't know. I've been moving luggage. I don't, you know. So
look, why don't I? The French guy's an old friend of mine. Why don't I do you a favor and bring up some food for them, and maybe that can, you know, it's just like goodwill towards my debt. You know, it doesn't even really take anything off of it, but just lets you know, like, you know, I'm looking out for you. I care for you.
Oh, Quinn. All right. Sure thing. Whenever if they order room service, I will let you know, and I will let you take the room service up to them.
So I'm reading this ancient American stuff, or I'm listening to the recordings they brought me. Is this meaningful stuff, or is this not meeting my threshold? Is this setting off any inauthentic things for me?
The recordings sound authentic. Like, you know, everybody's accents like sound like the appropriate accents for their language, which is called Caddo. And so, like, you know, they've got the appropriate, like, you know, Pawnee accents, but all of the like recordings, like, you're like, okay, I've listened to this one before, and then you listen to another one and you're like, okay, so there's nothing new in that version of the story. Basically you're just kind of like coming up bumpkiss, like, okay, there's nothing really worthwhile here, so it's disappointing, frankly.
Yeah. And it doesn't match the quality of everything else they're doing too.
Well, I mean, the recordings are quality. The difference is that they don't have access to all of the, like, the works that you have.
And they're only Americans anyway, so they couldn't be expected to understand it as well as I do.
Yeah, I mean, the Americans did awful things to these Pawnees, so, like, you know, of course it would be up to, you know, an outsider like you from France to, you know, get the correct information.
Got it. Indeed.
And while I'm down there, I'm gonna look at my watch and be like, if there's another 5 minutes goes by, I'm just gonna go up to that suite.
Oh yeah, no. They, 5 minutes goes by, and you just decide that you're gonna, like, take some food up, and your bellhop friend is fine with it. He says, like, listen, I, like, whatever you do, just don't get me fired. I don't know you.
Yeah, no, it's just a mix up with the agency, you know. But you're a pal, and I give him like a. I just like let it hang out.
Yeah. All right.
So is it like stairs, or would this have an elevator?
It would have an elevator. So yes, you take the elevator up to the appropriate floor. The elevator opens up into, like, the entryway. Like, there's kind of like an area where you can kind of, like, I'm trying to think of, like, my first thought is that it's kind of like one of those hatches on spaceships for, like, you know, an airlock kind of situation, or like a mud room on a house, like where you come off the elevator but you don't have access to anything unless somebody opens up the interior doors. So basically, like, you know, there's a bell on a table nearby, you ring the bell to indicate that you're there, unless you are not trying to indicate that you're there.
I don't like if if it's a mix up at the agency, I can stand a chewing out. I've been chewed out before. It's not that bad. But if it's something else, then just like kind of like the hairs on the back of my neck, just don't like it if it's that.
Yeah.
I am going to, I guess, knock. And yeah, just knock and just pretend to, even though like, if there's like a mirror in the hall, like I make sure, like my high and tight is like pulled back, like a little neater. I run a hanky over my face, and then I stand up straight and just try to be subservient.
All right, sounds good to me. A gentleman answers the door and it's just like, we didn't order room service.
It's compliments of the place. For our suites renters, it's only the finest service. We wanted to extend our gratitude for staying and renting out the suite.
Okay, well,
and then
go ahead.
I want to like maybe tilt open the top of the dish a bit, like let the smells waft out.
Sure. You look past them and you see that there's a woman and a man on the inside of the room. The man is making like mimeographs of like just lots of papers and notebooks and things like that. The woman is kind of sitting there, and you take notice. You see that the woman has a pistol in her hand. You can only see it for a moment. She's not very obvious about it, but you see that she does have a pistol, and then she kind of like slides it back underneath like one of the notebooks on her table.
Okay.
As if she's just like getting ready for any potential problems.
So I see the guy that answers the door. I see this woman, and I see someone else mimeographing is what I see, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Yes, for those at home, the fake Quinn is the one who answered the door.
Okay. Yeah, so, just I can set it down wherever you like, is what I say.
Okay, just leave it here, and you can get on the elevator and go, and we'll bring it in.
I chew on that, and I say, yeah, sure. And then I back away and then set it down the door, and I go back to the elevator. I give it like a good 10 count if they don't open it. And then I'm going to go back and knock on the door if they don't.
Well, so you're going to go over to the elevator, press the button, or like press the button and get in the elevator, or standing outside the elevator?
Get in and like I don't know if they can see it go down or not, or like how
so basically, like if you do that, they're going to just pull the cart in, and then they're going to shut the door behind it. I want to interject. I want to interject for a moment. Craig, so Pierre, a suggestion that I have for you that you might want to do is like with Pierre, like discovering that these materials really aren't very good quality. Right. Do you want at the same time that Quinn is out there like delivering like room service, kind of like storm out of the doors and just kind of like, cause a ruckus? Or do, just like generally be like, I can't believe these materials, and engage the scene? Or do you want to just kind of do something else?
Sure. I have a good notice. So anything that I can notice, especially with my top secret part, I'm going to be alert to these things. So, sure. Let's do this. Why don't I, so as I understand it, there's a vestibule hall connected to the elevator. There's a door to a room that the three bad guys are in. And there's another door to my room, right?
Yeah, basically, like yours is the farthest from the elevator. If you imagine that it's a single line, your room is the farthest from the elevator. So
I'm just going to go to the door, open it to tell them that I've reviewed the materials and there's nothing interesting here. So I've opened the door now, and I see the waiter with the room service backing out of the door.
Yep.
Okay.
And what does the waiter want to do? Or the bellhop, rather.
Yeah. And I say, You sound French. Are you Professor Aubert?
I am.
Yeah, these assholes, and I want to like throw like almost like a pie in the face against the guy who answered the door,
Yeah.
like the dish I'm carrying. Uh, as I throw it into his face, I was like, "These guys are bamboozling you."
Okay.
I'm Quinn. I'm Quinn Meridian. Here, and I show like the robot fist, and then I want to just like clock the next non-Aubert person I see.
All right, so Quinn, go ahead and
rewind because of the hitting the other guy first. I don't know, but yeah,
that's okay. No. Quinn, just make a fight roll. I'm going to set the difficulty for this at a 3 for all 3 of the opponents that are in the room, and if you succeed, you'll take all 3 of them out. That is a 3. That is a tie, so that is success at a minor cost.
Okay.
The minor cost is going to be that the one guy. So you kind of like clang with the top of the like food dish. Against the fake Quinn. You punch out the woman as she's raising her gun up to you. As this is going on, the third person is kind of like grabbing all of the like mimeographs and quickly stuffs them into like a sack and drops it down a laundry chute that's right next to it. Basically, the cost is going to be that like the enemy has that the mimeographs of work, which you had a chance almost to prevent them from having that, like removing that aspect in play as a carry-on effect to what you were doing. Right. But that didn't work. So they continue to have the mimeographs. In fact, like well, anyway, so you've knocked everybody out.
I look around. I'm like, yeah, Professor. Sorry about that. These imposters, I guess, said they were me and taking you off to this place. I was supposed to take you somewhere like much closer to Brooklyn. I don't know what coin they have to be putting you up here, but what were they doing to you?
Well, they have all my work. Who are these people?
Wait, I mean, you weren't like tied up in the back there? You were just like working with them?
No, they told me you were them and we were collaborating. They brought me to a beautiful place, fed me food or promised me food, and we were leaving tomorrow morning. I had no idea they were not you.
I thought you were like some sort of like amazing professor guy, and you would just like be able to notice these details, and that you've been like feeding them false information this whole time while you wait to escape. I thought that was your move. You're like, oh yeah, the real Quinn is here. We're escaping.
Not so you would notice. No. It all seemed legitimate to me, but maybe it is my greed for the information that they'd promised me, which turned out to be crap, that blinded me to this. The opulence, the carriage, the beautiful surroundings, and then the promise of information. They may have known about me and known how to create a blind spot for me. It is my fault.
Well...
So what we should do is go find my notes. Let's run down to the laundry room and see if we can catch the people in the laundry room.
Is the laundry chute big enough for a person?
I will say that you get to the bottom of the laundry chute and you can see that like whatever they dropped in the laundry chute is gone. And in fact, like they've like gotten away with whatever they've done. Okay. So at this point, you can go back up into the hotel room, and if you want to try and learn more about your pursuers or your, I guess technically captors, right? You could.
So none of them are dead, and all 3 are still there.
Actually, you go back up, and you find that they have been like they have left. They were taken out, but they managed to they've been based on the stuff that's also missing in the room, you could tell that obviously some kind of cleanup crew came through and got them out so that they couldn't be basically interrogated.
These people are very organized.
Did they have accents, Professor? Do they sound American?
No. Well, the other two did not speak, but the person who said he was you spoke with an American accent. Can I now roll notice or investigate? My investigate is great. So can I roll and investigate on the room?
Absolutely. How are you investigating the room? Just to give it a little bit of flavor.
Yes. Oh, I see. So what am I physically doing?
Well, I mean, you don't necessarily need to give me a big description. Just instead of saying I roll investigate, it's I'm gonna go through their stuff and.
Yeah, exactly. My goal is to figure out anything I can about who these people are, where they came from, who might be funding them, what agencies or group they might be a part of. So I go through their stuff. I pull up seat cushions to look and see if there's anything under the seat cushions that might have fallen out, look under the bed. Also curious, does the room look lived in? Have they been here overnight? Really anything that would put in perspective what we're dealing with or who these people are or where they may have gone.
All right. Roll and investigate against a difficulty of 3. That is a 5 against a 3 difficulty. So Craig, why don't you tell me how Pierre figures out that it's the CIA?
Okay. So in the hurry to clean up afterwards, the cleaners both abandoned the pistol that the woman had, and there's also a satchel, a briefcase in the hall closet full of weapons, and I know because I'm a spy that that's a standard CIA field kit.
I love it.
Standard CIA weapon.
I love it. Yep. You find a stash of CIA, weapons. And so, this is definitely the work of the CIA.
As soon as he lets that out, I just start rubbing my forehead and messing up my haircut as he I was like, oh my, 3 letters? It has to be 3 letters. Ugh. Well, I mean, in for a penny, in for a pound, and I tuck one of the guns in the back of my belt loop or back of my pants, and I was like, all right, well, whatever they're doing, I feel like it's both not my problem, but also very much my problem. We should probably hoof it to Pawnee. Trains are nice, but cars are quicker.
Okay. So...
do you have any money to rent a car with?
I do. I assume I do. Do you need me to roll resources or something? I'm going to assume that
Oh, no. You can absolutely. I mean, you've got to you have to go out of your way to get the francs exchanged for American dollars. But yeah.
Okay, very good. I am equipped for this. Before we go, I take the time to check Quinn's bona fides thoroughly to make sure that he is in fact the right Quinn. Now that we're alerted to the problem,
how many Quinn Meridians do you know with a robot hand? I'm the Quinn Meridian.
Yeah, well, when I called out who you were, I didn't bring that out, so I'm assuming that wasn't a fact I knew, but I certainly know it now.
Okay.
So, so I would say let's go. Let's get on the road before these folks come back. So my research, they copied and took, but the originals are still here, right? And
Correct. Correct. Okay. Yes. Yeah. The cleanup crew only had enough time to get the people out. They just wanted to make sure they were going to do a second pass, but you got back, so they only managed to get the people out. So yes, you have all of your original like research. Except, of course, they put like big red check marks on everything that they mimeographed. So like in the corner. So like, you know, if you're a bit OCD about keeping nice notes, they've messed that up.
Which annoys me because I'm a professor. So that pisses me off.
Well, there you go.
There will be a reckoning. So can we grab my luggage and get out of here?
Yeah, sure. Whatever, Professor. I'm still your employee, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, good point. So let's get out of here. If we need to drive by wherever you're staying to pick up your stuff, but let's get on the road west. And I'm going to take the satchel, whatever Quinn didn't pull out of the satchel, I'm going to take their satchel full of stuff.
I arch an eyebrow at you, like getting like a gun or a weapon from them, but like I'm like, all right.
Well, you see, as in my various hunting around and crawling under things, you see that I have a shoulder holster with a pistol in it.
Oh, okay. I mutter under my breath that the French did hold their own pretty well.
Indeed,
like we're referencing the war.
Indeed, we did.
And as we go through the lobby, I definitely like hold like a briefcase like this on my shoulder, just so that Bobby or whatever we maybe did or didn't name that NPC doesn't see me as I completely like wrecked a room.
There'll be a reckoning in part 2, I'm sure. All right. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to do a challenge to get you to Nebraska. And by challenge, I mean like a fate style challenge, which is basically kind of, I like to use them a lot as montages. And you two are also going to help me with this. Because what we're going to do is we're going to have 3 complications on the road to Nebraska. All right, I'm going to set up the first complication, and then one of the two of you can say how you handle it. We'll make an overcome roll, and then it'll succeed. And then one of the two of you will come up with a complication for the other to solve, and then the other person will create a complication for the other person to solve. So, for instance, I'm going to create the first one, then maybe I'll pass it to Jason. Jason will create a complication. Craig, Pierre will solve it, and then vice versa. Does that make sense?
Okay, cool.
All right, great. So, so you managed to rent a car. It's really not a problem. It costs a fair bit, but that's all right. So as you're traveling through, like, so you're coming from New York, you're on your way to Nebraska. Basically, you're going to go through like maybe a little bit of New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Iowa, and then finally Nebraska. Okay. If you want to, you can look at a U.S. map. That's literally what I'm doing right now.
Okay.
So while you're in kind of like the mountains of Pennsylvania, you're going through the, you're going up through the Allegheny Mountains, and, through Appalachia. And, basically, what is going to happen is that the car that you have, is actually going to, oh goodness, what's the complication that I want? I'm going to say that in this instance, the car itself, the unknown power source, Quinn, your hand, as you're going through like the mountains of Pennsylvania, kind of like begins to glow. And, as your hand, like through like various cracks, almost looking like kind of like veiny, like when the Winter Soldier's arm kind of like has some glowy bits.
Right.
Begins to glow. And that's interfering with like the electrical equipment in the car. And so basically you are kind of like stranded in the mountain, or like in the mountains overnight. You've got to like pull over. It's not winter or anything, but you have to kind of like basically survive the night in like the mountains of Pennsylvania. So how do you survive the night in the mountains of Pennsylvania? In the morning, basically, like whatever was going on with your hand kind of stops and the car will start. But I want to know, like, how do you handle dealing with being in the mountains of Pennsylvania overnight? I know this is a fairly like mundane sort of thing,
sure,
but
yeah,
it happens.
Yeah. Well, Professor, that right there is what we call a jalopy. And I give like the fender a kick as I'm like kind of like looking around and noticing like our predicament. Well, we could push this to the next farmhouse we see and prevail upon their good nature as Christians and fellow Americans. And I gave it like a bit of like a cynical chuckle after I like say that, like kind of like playing up the American stereotype for Aubert. And then yeah, you know, I can ask them, you know, do some yard work or do like pick up something heavy. You know, I'll figure it out. But yeah, help me push this. And
well,
then
one of us needs to steer, right? So how about if I steer and you push?
Fine. I'm like, it makes sense, but it doesn't mean I'm any less annoyed.
I am French.
So I push and then I yell at him to like also to pull the clutch out so that I'll actually roll.
Very good.
All right. So this is going to sound like it's a physique as you're trying to push the car. I'm going to set the difficulty for this at a 2 for you, Quinn.
All right. So I'm fine with going ahead with that, but I was actually thinking that like maybe pushing the car would be actually fairly easy. The challenge part would be me trying to charm whoever lives at whatever.
Okay, yeah, we can do that. We can do that differently. We can do that. So that sounds like rapport. I'll set the difficulty for that at a 2 as you kind of go to one of the farmhouses and try to like, you know, talk your way through.
Aubert, you'll notice that like I like change a bit. Like I you know roll my shoulders a bit down, and if I take off my hat and I kind of like I'm not a great actor, but I kind of get my eyebrows together and just like a little like, oh, woe is us, and it's like, oh sir, you know, if you don't mind, it would be so nice if you were to help us out. It's just a pair of poor souls like us. We have broken down on the road, and yeah, as I kind of like just whoops, I might roll twice.
So Randy, can I either, if I was going to roll to help and do a deceive to help, would I do that before or after he rolls?
Well, that's a great question. Right now we're doing this as a challenge, and typically the way that I run challenges is like one person's going to roll. But okay. I mean, you know, that doesn't necessarily preclude us from handling it a different way. Let me actually just look up challenges to see if they address that, because I don't like, it's a weird thing that doesn't get stuck in my brain. So fortunately there is a good SRD for it.
Good place to advertise the SRD, which is just brilliant for this game.
Well, Evil Hat was kind enough to make it with an open license.
And it's fate-srd.org, I think.
FateSRD.com, yeah.
FateSRD.com.
Well, yeah, and it's fate/srd.com, but I think I also own FateSRD.com. Let me confirm that. Yeah, FateSRD.com altogether redirects to fate-srd.com. I thought I was smart enough to do that. All right, so creating advantage in a challenge. Like, this is the mechanical question of, can you do this? Creating advantage doesn't count towards completing one of the challenge goals, but failing the roll could create a cost or a problem that negatively impacts one of the other goals. So it says, be careful using this tactic. Advantages can help complete tasks more effectively and create momentum, but trying to create them is not without risk. So the answer is that yes, if you want to try and make a deceive roll to create an advantage to help his roll, you can do that for sure. Do you still want to?
Recall, but I rolled a 0 under 2, so.
Well, you rolled a 0, but it doesn't have your skill associated with it. Oh, I clicked. Yeah. It was a 0. I clicked on the die roll and it did it again. So that 0 actually should be a 2, which means that is success at a minor cost.
Oh, okay. Maybe I clicked. Okay, yeah.
Because usually what'll happen is, like, for instance, if you look up at Pierre on the left-hand side, it says investigate above the dice roll, and it has the modifier number. Whereas yours didn't have the modifier number. And then, like, whenever I clicked on it, I just clicked on it again. It doesn't have any modifiers or any labels. So you got a 0 with your 2. It's success at a minor cost. I'm going to say that the minor cost in this instance is going to be time. You have to basically, like, throw around some hay bales while Pierre has, tea and talks about France to the Pennsylvanians who are, curious about what French life is like, and, they haven't met a French person. And so does that sound like a good cost? All right.
Yeah, I definitely give glares over to Pierre. It's like you couldn't have been built a little beefier. Field work means working in the field. Come on. I'm sweating with just the undershirt and like my regular shirt like folded over on the car.
So as near as Quinn can tell, I'm not even noticing any of that. But I am becoming very impatient to get out to the site, which is pushing against my extreme measures trouble aspect. I'm starting to get wound up about the fact that my notes are gone. These people are ahead of me. The CIA, our supposed ally, is the one who stole them. And I have a professor's desire to publish first, to know more. And none of this is what I want it to be. And I'm not happy.
So this, Craig, sounds like to me like how do you get into Nebraska? Well, there's 2 ways that this can be handled. Okay. First, we're handling this like a challenge. So there are like 3 challenges to overcome. So what we're either doing is complicating the trip by compelling extreme measures, in which case you get a fate point, things go askew for you guys. Or this is literally your setup for something that Quinn has to solve, because like you decide that like this American is like, isn't really like doing that great. And you hop in the car and you leave without him. And then Quinn has to solve like getting back, like catching up to you. And then like the third scene that Jason will like volley back could possibly be like when the 2 of you meet, like, the CIA is pushing back against you or something. So, I
mean, Jason, if you're okay with that, that fits the narrative that I'm creating or we're creating about this arrogant Frenchman. So,
yeah, I have a couple ideas about how I might catch up with you, or I try to cut you off at the pass or something.
Cool.
Like out of spite now at this point, instead of just going back to New York and saying fuck him.
This could be a buddy movie where we're mad at each other and ultimately we resolve it. So sure, let's do that.
All right.
So
yeah, I come back from like the field.
Oh, well, hold on. Let Craig set it up.
So sorry. After my tea with the nice people, the lovely people who've let us stay at their place, while you're toting bales and I wait for you to go behind the barn out of sight, I bring my luggage out into the car if we'd already brought it in. I hop in the car and I drive off. So you come around the barn and see the car disappearing over the next hill.
I turn to like the family here. Is like, was that the French guy?
Oh yeah. We didn't know that he was going to leave. He just finished his tea and said that he was going to load his luggage into the car, and that like, he did mention that time was of the essence. So like, we were going to send Paul out to tell you that you could wrap up.
That French asshole.
Excuse me, we've got children. Please mind your language.
If I look at one of the children, I said, yeah, don't trust the French. And then, which way is the nearest train yard?
They point you in the direction of the nearest train yard.
Do I need like a sandwich to get there, or can I just start going there and be there soon?
I'm sorry, repeat that, Jason?
Oh, like I say to them, like, do I need like an overnight, like a little like one of those little handkerchiefs with like a sandwich and an apple, or do I need a? Can I just like get moving like the last time I lost stuff here?
The wife pulls out some bread and an apple.
Thank you kindly. And then I put that back in my very sweat-soaked handkerchief, and I start going in that direction they point me.
All right. So basically, you're.
I'm
so tell me how.
And,
oh, go ahead.
What's the word when you jump on trains? It's a specific word.
Oh, I know what you riding the rails. I know that.
Oh, yeah.
Is it stowaway? Maybe it is stowaway.
Train stow. Well, I'm gonna look it up and see what we get.
But I'm doing that thing.
Okay.
Train hopping.
And it's exactly this era. That's perfect.
Yeah. So basically, you're trying to catch a train. Yeah, it's not coming up very fast on a Google search.
Yeah,
so.
Sure.
But yeah, so
I don't have like trains memorized. That's not really my character. Okay. So I want to like. Oh. No, I know, but I'm thinking like use my personal side to like talk with train hobos to like find the quickest way to get to Nebraska.
Sure.
All right, sounds good. All right. So that sounds like so is that it's going to be talking to people, but it's talking to a lot of people. So the question is that rapport or contacts? I can see it either way. Like I could let you roll either, but which do we think it is?
Well, contacts implies I like know some of these guys, and
well, there's that. Yeah,
I'm trying to think like that's not beyond.
Well, it's also making contacts too. Like you talk to like Jim the train stowaway, and he tells you to get in touch with like Mitchell the train stowaway. So. And again, like I am fine with either rapport or contacts. The question that I'm asking is like, what do you want to use? What feels right?
I feel like rapport makes a little bit more sense,
okay.
And I'm also going to pay a fate point to give me a +2 on like, don't we know each other? So like,
well, you don't have to pay a fate point. You don't have to pay a fate point for that.
For to use an aspect.
To use a stunt.
Well, my stunt is...
You don't pay any fate points until you see the results of the roll.
Oh, okay.
Yes, because you can choose whether or not you need to. Fate points are after the roll. There's like spending them before the roll. It might turn out you don't need them.
Okay.
So you can use the aspects to guide your role playing, and then like invoke the aspects as needed on the roll. So, excuse me. I'm going to give this a difficulty of 3 because you were trying to navigate the rails by hobo.
Okay, so I rolled a 2 there with rapport.
All right.
So now I want to spend the fate point to like use my don't we know each other? Just kind of like I don't know him, but like I'm just kind of like saying like Sally's sister who once like went down to Ohio and like moved in with that guy. You know him, right? What was his name? And so then
his
delete
name.
That fate point, and
his
so
name was Willie.
Willie,
Greer.
that's it.
Willie Greer. Yeah.
You know him. We know him. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd say good guy, but not really. Willie's riding the rails. I heard he's riding it out west. Headed out to California. Likes the weather out there. So. Enjoys it.
I give him a piece of bread to like from the little satchel just to pay the hobo respect.
Sounds good. So you spent the fate point. All right.
Yeah.
Great. So that person that you're talking to, she's like, yeah, Willie's been good and everything like that. But, she's like, wait a minute, wasn't Willie friends with, what was the name of the guy that Willie was friends with who did all of the dice games and the dice gambling?
Oh, was that Louisiana Bill?
No, I mean Louisiana Bill threw dice, but it was. What did you say your name was again?
Oh, just Sandy Dan.
I'm going to offer you a compel on
Okay.
Don't We Know Each Other? And
Okay.
it's going to turn out that you actually know her, and you let's see, you got into a bar fight, and you ended up smashing her over the head with a beer bottle. It was by accident or on accident, but she is not too kind about it, or not too happy about it.
Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that fate point.
All right, go ahead and add a fate point. And she's just gonna be like, Quinn Meridian. That's who you are. You hit me over the head with a beer bottle, didn't you?
I mean, it's a name that I have used before. Look, like honestly, like you like someone knocked you down and you got up too fast, and then I threw it and then it hits you in the head and I mean, bar
Do
fights
you
are
know
crazy.
that I lost my job because I was in the hospital too long?
Well, I mean, isn't that just the way the man is? Like that's just always like just taking down the little guy, like try and give her like a comforting pat on the shoulder.
She basically kind of like grabs your hand and like twists it back. And she's just like, I know exactly what would be comforting. I would like Quinn. You are going to make a fight roll, as she is going to basically she's going to try to beat you to a pulp, and your fight roll is to determine how badly or not badly this fight goes for you.
All right.
You are definitely going to lose this fight
Okay.
with her. But the question is by like how much, and the difficulty for this I'm going to set at a 2. All
I
right,
got it
it's
too.
overcome, so it's success at a minor cost. She is going to basically she cleans your clock pretty well. She doesn't break anything, like nothing's bruised, but it really, really hurts your ego as you're hanging there on one of the mail hooks, from like postage hooks from the train. Like trains used to like put mail bags
Yeah,
out
I'm
on.
familiar with
Okay,
them. Yeah.
okay. Well, just in case Craig wasn't, but basically you're
Okay,
kind of
yeah.
like you're hanging there, and you're like, okay, now I've got to get down and get another train. And you do, and you set forth to Nebraska, embarrassed by losing a fight against somebody who you had accidentally hurt in the past. So
I reflect on my ways and habits uncharacteristically as I walk alongside the tracks, waiting for the next train to come around.
excellent, great setup, Craig. Thank you. And Jason, now it's your turn to set up a situation for Craig to resolve, and think in terms of like at the end of it, you could be at where like near where you need to be in Nebraska, or you could be back a little bit from that. Whatever you think will work. I can get you wherever I need to.
What do you guys think about getting to Nebraska, but Aubert has trouble getting anyone to like maybe point him like in the right direction now that he's there, like of like where he needs to go and like look at stuff, and it's a big land, like to just go out there and walk around seems a little daunting.
Oh, absolutely. Nebraska is giant. I mean, it is the prairie, like
I
where
don't
there
know
is
if it's because
nothing.
he's French, but he's just getting a sense that like people are a little buttoned up.
Mm-hmm. They lack the culture he's used to.
Culture at all, really. I mean, Americans. Okay.
Indeed.
So, so am I supposed to fill in what that looks like?
So I
Yeah.
guess,
How do you?
Or how do I solve it?
Yeah, how do you resolve this situation and like manage to like, you know, kind of get pointed in the right direction to where you need to be? Like, you're in Nebraska, but you're basically kind of driving around Nebraska trying to find, you know, the Pawnee Reservation, and you have no idea how to get there. And there's like very little like information about where to find it. And so you're trying to like engage with the local Americans to find this reservation. And a lot of them aren't taking too kindly to you.
So I don't have a lot of people skills. So I'm gonna all right, well, tell me if you want me to do this, but I'm gonna say that I find myself in Fremont, Nebraska, and I'm lost as hell, and it's 1 o'clock in the morning and everything's closed, but I find the municipal library and I decide to break in and look for maps of Pawnee Nation, blah, 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 to figure out where the heck I am.
I love it. That sounds like a great use of burglary. Which weirdly enough is like the skill that I don't think gets enough love in Fate. So yeah, let's burgle the library. I'm gonna set the difficulty for this at a so it's a quiet town. It's 1 a.m. I'm gonna set the difficulty for this. I'm gonna say at a. Honestly, I'm gonna set it at a 2. I'll set it at a 2.
All right.
Because you're trying to like get in and out. Well, are you trying to get in and out without a trace?
Yes.
Okay, let's go with 2.
Okay.
That seems fair.
So I've queued it up. Yep. No, I forget. Oh, the roll's down here. There we go.
Yeah, hit the roll button. Yeah, it's in the lower left.
Hang on, I did that thing. No, I'm doing something wrong. It's coming up with giving me all the choices of the different ways to roll.
Oh, yeah, click the word roll.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
There it is.
Oh, man. I just want to let you know, I do not have any deal with Fari where they give all of the players 3 minuses on dice rolls. This has just been really statistically bad luck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at a -3, I could use one of my 4 fate points to re-roll unless you particularly want to make this into a mess here. But I can do French troubleshooter. You know, as I'm about to come out, there's a police officer saw a light or something that I wasn't quite careful enough is coming up, but I maybe am going to see him, so I'll do a re-roll costing me a fate point.
Yep. Sounds good to me. Go ahead and give that a whirl.
Then somewhere here, then I do that to lose the fate point.
Yep. There you go. Good job.
So I'm re-rolling burglary, so I'm going to set that up, and I'm going to do that. And
that's
there
a 3. Go. Nice.
So I see him coming up, and I cleverly sneak out the back, and everything is the way that it should be. And he's puzzled by what he thought was a light, but decides he just imagined it.
Sounds good to me. So Quinn, you managed to get to Fremont, Nebraska, and you kind of like jump off the train as it's kind of like slow rolling through town. You kind of like, you're heading into town. You're going to get yourself some breakfast before catching a train a little bit later. You know, you've got hours to wait, but you know, you recognize, a car in the parking lot of the local library.
I want to jump in the back seat and just like put my jacket over my head and wait for it to take off.
All right, Pierre, you come out, you start driving. You've got your maps from the library.
I know
you're on the road again.
Yeah, I know where I'm headed. So I'm on my way to sort of north central Nebraska, where the Pawnee Nation is.
I want to give it a good couple of minutes so he can't like get the car gets up to speed before rather than just starts rolling. And I go like I want to butcher it like intentionally like au revoir mon frere or something or like
Bonjour.
yeah, okay, yeah, I'd rather do that like bonjour Pierre or Pierre.
So you're in the back seat, I'm in the front seat driving. You see my shoulders go up and then they go down, and I say, "It's about time you got here, Quinn. What took you so long?"
I would actually, so I'm going to do something a little bit unorthodox, but it is perfectly valid, because every aspect that is in play is viable for everyone and everything that's in the story.
Okay.
I would like to compel Quinn on extreme measures from Pierre. When you say bonjour, Quinn, Pierre basically like takes a sharp right turn as he like reaches for a gun, and the car like rolls down the road.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Rolls as in top over bottom?
Yeah, top over bottom, and basically kind of like slides to a stop with the two of you in the car.
Okay.
Okay, I'll take that compel.
All right, Quinn, there you go. The car is trashed. You both are okay if rattled, but you can go from there.
So Quinn gets there we go.
As I slowly drag myself, using my left arm to like touch any like hot or jagged parts, so I don't cut up my right. I'm like yelling at him, you French fucking asshole, and like I pick up like maybe some like German swears I got from the front, which I don't know any in real life. I did this defending yours and my country, and like you come here and you're just like pissing all over my hospitality.
Look what you did to the car.
You were driving. That's you. That's you.
It was not me. You yell in my ear while I'm trying to drive. You surprised me.
I purred in your ear like a cat, like a sneaky cat.
So slow. We're moving hay bales in Pennsylvania. The CIA have my notes. This is important. And then you wreck the car.
Look, if you're gonna be, you're way too jerky if you're gonna be carrying around a gun. This is, I know you know how to do stuff. So walk in front of me if that's gonna be like how your nerves are, mon frere. Or actually, no, I say mon chéri, like getting it wrong on, like that's just like Quinn not knowing like the right shit.
Extreme measures. You really don't want to be pushing, Pierre.
Yeah. Let's just push the dangerous Frenchman with a gun. What could the American brute do? No, for. Let's put some of your precious cheese on a burger and have a French cheeseburger. Grab your own bag. Let's go. It's this way.
You see that it is about like 1:30 in the morning. You see that a headlight's approaching.
Shit. Don't shoot him.
There are no police lights.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So as this is happening,
My headset's dying.
Okay.
I've got to turn it off and make just a quick audio change. Can someone say something for me?
Hey there.
All right, great. I can hear you.
Okay.
All right. Go ahead.
So as the headlight's saying, I just told him to say like, don't shoot them. We're not all cowboys and Indians over here.
Well, you're a cowboy, clearly.
I feel like Quinn's like a little too thick to catch that one.
Okay.
And I just lean against the wreck and just see if the car passes. I don't want to confront them if they're just going to drive by.
Well, Pierre is still yelling at you while you're trying to be nonchalant. So that
Pierre,
they're pulling
I'm the guide. Follow my lead.
The car kind of like slows to a stop. The window rolls down and you hear, "Do you need some help?"
Yes.
No, it's just like a carburetor leak. We got it in hand.
Which side of the car is on the ground right now? The bottom or the top?
The top.
So, no, we don't need a carburetor. Who's in the car? Are there men, women?
Actually, 3 people come out. The 2 of them have small pistols, and they say, "Funny running into you here." The fake Quinn says.
I think you'll find my sense of humor actually doesn't find this funny at all.
I tell you what, I think that we can definitely give you a ride, and kind of gestures with the gun towards the car.
Fine. And I look at Pierre I just actually kind of walk, much less stiffly, a little bit more willingly towards fake Quinn. And as I pass him, I say, "You do a shit impression, by the way."
They're going to handcuff you before you get into the back of the car. It is the man, the woman, and the fake Quinn. The fake Quinn introduces himself. My name is Jude Greer, and welcome to America, Dr. Albert. Quinn Meridian, I remember you from the front. Craig, tell me how the CIA agent Jude Greer knows Quinn, and it's not going to be good.
Did we do the thing where Quinn was thinking about whether or not he would get rid of? No, he kept the arm, which he probably shouldn't have kept, right? Is that?
Yeah, I still have that gun tucked in the back of my pants.
Yep.
Yes, but I'm saying, I thought when we were talking character creation that maybe your arm is an illicit arm.
Oh, that arm. Sorry, I was thinking
back, right?
I don't think we settled on that, but I could definitely go with maybe I should turn this arm in.
So, he was maybe your commanding officer, and you, instead of giving the arm back, you went AWOL, taking the arm with you, and he tried to find you as one of his first jobs with the CIA, because you can't have illicit arm technology in public. So he tried to track you, and you had a few encounters, but you escaped.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
All right.
So
Quinn, kind of I have to hand it to you.
To my Sherlock to elevate that pair of us a little bit.
Yeah. I have to
another way around.
I have to hand it to you. You've definitely managed to escape me too many times. And he is going to I'm going to offer you a fate point, Quinn. On what is it? Has a steel hand, isn't afraid to use it. The compel is going to be that Jude knows how to turn off your arm, or turn off your access to the arm. Like, it's still powered, but you just don't have access to it. So the compel will be that basically you just can't use it until you've resolved that situation.
Okay. That's a tough compel.
That is a tough compel. That is definitely one that complicates things. You can pay it off if you don't like it, or you can get a fate point.
Like, I like it, but I don't like it. It's really
That's a sign of a good compel, at least I think, as a GM.
I mean, he's not stupid though. Like, he knows what I can do with it. So I feel like.
Well, the thing is if you pay off the compel, he doesn't know how to do that. Okay.
No. What I was
So,
saying,
yeah.
like, I was actually leaning more towards accepting the fate point and be like,
Okay.
Jude, like, isn't stupid. Like, he wouldn't just like cuff me and be like, okay, yeah, he's taken care of. Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, I'll take the fate point, but I'm like really grumpy in the back of the car. Like, Pierre, if you thought I was grumpy before, you have met new levels of American intransigency.
You are grumpy. All of you Americans are ruining my project. All of you. So I'm gonna either we use my top secret troubleshooter skills in burglary to try to either unlock my handcuffs with a tie clip or something.
Yeah.
Or maybe try to turn Quinn's hand back on, thinking that a mechanical hand can maybe flex and break his handcuff or something like that. And that's probably more fun if you think I can do it.
Well, here's what I would like to do right now. I'd actually like to take a 10-minute break so that we can stretch our legs, get a drink if we want to. Bio break, important too. Gather back here in about 10 minutes, and then we can continue things. We're basically going to go, like, during the break, we're going to switch scenes.
Okay.
I'll set up a new scene, and then both of those actions sound like absolutely things that you could choose to do.
All right. Yeah.
All right. So let's meet back here at, let's say 13 past the hour.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Yeah.
So 13 past the hour, we'll come back. Hi, Craig.
Hey there.
I hope you're having fun.
I was just going to say, this is really fun.
Good. I'm glad you're having a good time.
I am. I'm having a very good time.
Excellent. Jason?
Same here. I caught that question. Yeah, it's been great.
Okay, good. Good. I'm glad. All right. So let's go ahead and bring this home. We've got about, we had originally planned on ending at 10. Does anyone have a hard stop at 10? Well, I mean, I guess it's like in 45 minutes, a hard stop in 45 minutes, because it's not 10 o'clock for you too. But I'm going to try and wrap up the narrative by 10, so in like the next 45 minutes or so. And then after that, I do an exercise at the end of every one of my gaming sessions. Basically, it's a feedback thing. And then we'll be done. All right.
All right, cool.
So the endings are always sad, but getting there is fun. All right. So let's talk about what's happening. So the two of you are in the car with the CIA agents, Jude and, let's see, let's find out a name for the woman. Let's give her a name. She needs a name. Daisy. That's a perfect name for the era. Daisy Watts. All right. Yes.
Daisy, I hope you don't hold it against me that I hit you just as hard as I hit the others.
She tells you that, well, you know, I hope you don't hold it against me that I shoot you the same as I do other men or women. So, I didn't join up with the CIA to be treated like a housewife. So, you two are basically kind of like driven for a couple of hours. I know, Craig, that you wanted Pierre to do something, but narratively, I am going to be a mean GM and say no. So that we can have some good story effect. If you're agitated by that, let me know. We can make changes. I want to make sure you're having a good time. But so you drive for a couple of hours, so it's probably about 3:30 in the morning. And you are driven into basically the middle of nowhere in Nebraska. Okay. Above you, the sky, like there is like no ambient light because there's nothing around. So you get to see like the full Milky Way experience from like one end to the other of the Milky Way. All right. The stars are gorgeous and beautiful. And you see that the dirt road that you're basically driving on, leads up to a Pawnee style, structure, like a hut. or a teepee. I don't know if teepee is the right word to use here or not, but basically like a very authentic looking structure. Surrounded by that, you see that there are a bunch of parked cars that match the black car that you're in. And there are a couple of aspects on the scene for you to be aware of. The first aspect is under the stars, and I've just shared it with you. If you can find a way to make that relevant, great. If not, maybe I can. Then the other aspect that you need to be aware of is swarming with CIA. So this place is basically swarming with the CIA. There is one free invoke for the bad guys to use on swarming with CIA. They basically have been setting up this location, so they have the advantages here. So not only do they have an aspect, but they have a free invoke on that aspect. At this point, I'm going to remove mimeographs of work because they've kind of like integrated that into what they've done. I feel like having it as its own aspect is no longer really kind of like relevant. So as you pull up, Jude kind of says, well, Dr. Aubert, I have to say that your work has been incredibly a great assist to us in attempting to find whatever kind of like whatever the artifact or artifacts are that the Pawnee people had. All of the talk of the stars, the evening star, the morning star, and all of that, as you had surmised in your notes that there is a ritual that needs to be done to send your consciousness to wherever they have stored these things. We had thought for the longest time that it it was a physical location, like, sort of like those like awful catacombs that you have in France where you like keep all of your dead people. Like we had thought that like maybe the Pawnee had, buried whatever they had in clay pots or something. But it turns out that no, it's a ritual to kind of like a transcendental sort of experience. And with the combination of your notes and ours, we have nearly figured the ritual out. And so, Dr. Aubert, I think that it's time for you to complete your work. What do you think? Any kind of
I'm just
gestures?
like staring at him. I'm just like,
we were allies in the last war. We, I thought, are allies now, but you have not acted as allies in this moment, and my superiors did not send me here to work with you. So why should I collaborate with you?
That's a fair question, Dr. Aubert. And I would like to say that there are many benefits to working with the CIA. Money, we can put you on retainer. You're able to accomplish a lot more together with our resources than alone. You know that we have many contacts throughout many different nations in the world. We've been beating back communism, but eventually communism will go away and we'll find something else to use as an excuse to install the right people in power. Perhaps, so if, power and money and completing your research doesn't work for you, we can find other ways to pay you, but I'd much rather make you a happy man, Dr. Aubert.
So, I don't know if this is a role or just sort of do I believe him that this is a legitimate offer of collaboration?
Dr. Aubert, you can, he responds, he's like, I completely understand, considering that we had to be duplicitous to make sure that we were able to accomplish what we needed to accomplish. But now that we've gotten your notes, we need you now. And so like, you need us to help complete what you're trying to accomplish. You are foremost expert on this. We legitimately can work together in a good fashion. Or he lifts and points his pistol directly at Quinn. He says, there are other ways to motivate you if you prefer.
I'm gonna make you eat that thing.
You mean that in return for my offer to work for you, you'll shoot him?
That is not what I meant.
You eat that thing.
That is not what I meant at all. He laughs, but that is certainly a way that we can do it. Will you like him to dig his own grave?
No, he's been marginally useful.
Well, you know, Dr. Robert, that is a great idea. Why don't we make sure that what we're going to do is works? And I think that your gentleman there, Quinn, the real Quinn, should be our very first candidate. Let's go into the structure. And he kind of gestures. You guys, there are CIA operatives walking along with you, but he's basically kind of doing the talking. And once you're inside, he kind of shows you the work and everything. And you see that they do indeed have, and I just put the aspect out, a nearly complete ritual, with 2 free invokes on it. So they're like, we're almost there, but this is very complicated and we could certainly use you. And Quinn will be the first person to, ingest the concoction. And we will see if his mind expands appropriately.
Just real quick, because like I was trying to Wikipedia something real fast.
Yeah.
I kind of missed the first part of the reveal. This ritual is supposed to do what?
The ritual is meant to. It's kind of like. My inspiration for it is like the peyote rituals, like the mind expansion kind of thing, to basically kind of like send your consciousness into another dimension. And the materials from the Pawnee indicate that like whatever like magical cachet they've have is in this transcendental realm. Okay, so this ritual, a combination of ingestibles and, prayers will the person like, who does the ingestion will transcend, or they'll die because there's a lot of poisonous mushrooms in this mix. So if it's done wrong.
I spit at Jude. I'm like, how do you know it worked? Or like, what would it working look like? And I don't literally spit. I'm just like snapping at him is more what I meant to say.
Oh, well, that is a great question. He walks over to a corner of it's round the structure, but he goes off to a side and he kind of pulls a blanket off of this large ornate it's basically if you've ever seen like a period piece movie where like a girl like does her hair and it's this gorgeous mirror with some drawers and stuff. Basically it's this French constructed mirror that Pierre, you actually recognize just because of you being like a professor and French and, having studied history, you recognize this as basically like a piece of royal furniture that, has obviously been stolen by the CIA. And the CIA, Jude, kind of begins speaking to it very quietly. You can tell he's speaking French, but you can't hear the words. If you want to, you can hear the words. But basically, he says a couple of words, and the reflections in the mirror, you begin to see like everyone's auras in the mirror. So like when you look in the mirror, you can see like your individual auras. So like Quinn, you see like, black and yellow kind of like struggling with each other, as like the black being like your history of having fought in World War I and the things that you did, struggling against the yellow color, which is your like gregariousness, your kind of like joie de vivre, trying to, overcome that and like reflecting that kind of internal struggle. Pierre, you can see like that yours, you're a troubleshooter. So you like, you've solved a lot of things. So yours is kind of like this like dark green color. For the most part, there are like occasional like little halos of color that comes out, where it's kind of like almost like a bubbling underneath the surface, where like all of the like the professor part of you is kind of like bubbling through the like the dark green, so like that professor in you is kind of like being like suppressed by the troubleshooter. So you also see like the other auras of people in the room. As you look at Jude's aura, you see that Jude's aura is just a like weirdly, it is a super pale, bright yellow. Like, and it's like just kind of like coming off strong. Like you don't know much about auras, but you feel that like this Jude person is not conflicted about what they do. So, actually I'm going to say that it's like a, instead of, pale yellow, I'm going to say it's like almost like a blood red, like a very bright blood red, where it's like very much understands what he does, accepts it. No, there's no conflict in that aura at all. And then he throws the blanket back over top of the mirror. We do believe that with, this mirror from French royalty, you may have recognized it, Pierre. It allows us to see things that we otherwise couldn't see. And so the way that the dorks have told us, they believe that it will allow us to watch as our candidate, Quinn, transcends.
I will agree, but I want the first person to be me. And I'm going with extreme measures in my head, and I'm also going with, if there's a professor discovery to be made, I don't want to be the second person to have done this great thing.
That is a good. You know what? You're going to have to talk Jude into it.
Okay.
So, how are you going to talk Jude into this?
I'm going to, in game terms, I don't have great talking skills.
Yeah, don't worry about the skills. Tell me about how you want to do it, and then we'll add some skills.
That I am much better equipped than Quinn to understand, to keep my brain intact, because I am so familiar with the Pawnee rituals. I understand all of the gods. I will recognize the lore, the nature of things much more quickly. I'll see the subtleties that wouldn't otherwise be seen, so that something that could destroy him, I could see as being dangerous. Something that is an opportunity, I'll pick up on faster. So if you want this to succeed, send me first, and I will take the risk of dying, because I need to know. I need to be the first.
All right.
I kind of do a low whisper up here, like, Pierre, they're only going to use this for their ends. Like,
go ahead and make a.
I say, I'm saving your life, you fool.
Make a provoke roll, because the way that you sounded, it sounded like rapport. So you're kind of trying to talk him into it.
Okay.
So go ahead and make a rapport roll. I'm going to set the difficulty for this at a 2.
Okay, and I can add to it. And if you do not let me go first, I will not help you, and I will spend the rest of my life seeking vengeance for this, however long or short that would be.
Well, now it sounds like provoke.
Yeah.
All right.
That's what you wanted, right?
Well, I mean, it seems to me like that would be a dramatically appropriate, but so that is 1 point short. It is an overcome roll, so you could succeed at a cost.
Or I could spend a fate point to add 2.
Yes, that as well.
I mean, I can use Professor Emeritus of Ancient American Artifacts
All right.
to make my argument. So I'll spend that fate point.
All right, sounds good. So you are successful. Jude says, all right, great. You can absolutely, you can be the first person to do it. I
look sidelong at Jason and wink.
The only stipulation that we have is that, we take notes as to what you do along the way. That way we can recreate it.
Okay.
All right, let's see.
As you set yourself up, Pierre, I say, like, did you know that this guy used to wet himself in bed in the trenches at night sometimes? And like I do this like chin jutting thing over towards Jude.
I look over at him and go, that makes sense. He looks like a trench wetter.
Jude looks at Daisy and says, we don't need Quinn anymore. Take him out back. And she grabs Quinn and starts taking him basically outside to shoot him.
I say, wait, I will not go if you kill him.
You've already struck your deal, Pierre. So while you're outside, Quinn, Daisy's basically making you like walk away like towards the edge of the compound because she doesn't want to have to they don't want a body stinking up the place. What is Quinn going to be doing while they're having this walk? And Pierre, I'm assuming that you're starting on solving the ritual. So we're gonna handle Quinn, and then we're gonna come back to you taking care of the ritual. So Quinn, how are you handling this situation?
Is she like walking me outside like the range of all the headlights from all the cars?
Yes, she is.
I was thinking maybe I could like somehow invoke my trouble and like try and like make the weird finicky power source knock out all the lights like it did when it messed up our car earlier.
Oh, that sounds like a really good thing to do.
And then, under the stars, sure, we have starlight, but that's also really dark otherwise, Yeah.
All right. So let's see. So you want to get the unknown power source to kind of like kick on and take care of everything. I'm going to, let's see. So that sounds like a lore to me. Because you're trying to like get the power source to do its thing.
Okay.
I'm going, and you've got the aspect to justify it, and you can also spend a point on it. Yeah. So I'm going to set the difficulty for this at a 2 for lore. Okay. You don't have control of that arm, but you do know that like sometimes if you play with it too much, sometimes it'll do that and be finicky. So go ahead and give me a lore roll, Quinn. Ooh, that is 3. A 3. Very nice. All right. So yes, Quinn, your hand like goes, begins like lighting up, and you hear like as all of like the cars kind of like shut down. And there's a gunshot as Daisy basically tries to like shoot you and misses, because this is definitely a suspicious moment.
Right. So I want to try and like even though I'm like cuffed up, like try and like I don't know, get around behind her or something and get my handcuffed chain across her neck. It'd be a really awkward move, or dislocate a shoulder or something. I don't have an aspect for that, but just anything to be able to like take her out.
All right. Well, give me a fight roll. She will fight back. She will resist. Actually, you know what? I'm going to make this an overcome to take her out. I haven't looked at the dice roll or what you rolled yet. I'm going to set the difficulty for this at a 3. And you got a 4. So yes, you basically manage to kind of like, do the like arms underneath the butt, through the legs kind of thing. And you manage to take Daisy out. So we're just assuming she's taken out like PG-13 style.
Yeah. Okay. That's fine. Yeah.
All right. Unless you had something specific in mind.
I mean, all that I would do is like add violent details, and I can take her or leave it. So
okay.
I do want her to be like knocked out, and
yes,
if my arms are behind my back, I want to awkwardly like pat her for keys or something.
Sure.
Oh no, you said I got them in front of me.
Yeah, you got them in front of you, and you managed to pat her down for keys, and you can unlock that.
Keys and a gun, and then like I'm still thinking like, this place is covered in CIA, but the lights are out. I guess just like sneak, do my best, like, maybe they're getting flashlights out, maybe not, but like try and like zigzag between the agent's search pattern to get back into that hut.
Sounds good.
With the gun.
So yeah, the CIA agents try their flashlights. They don't work. They do have like a fire going outside. So they basically kind of like start making impromptu torches, literally out of their flashlights, like wrapping cloth around it and doing what they can, begin searching for you. That's going to be a stealth to get through their kind of like little area. I'm going to set the difficulty for this at a 3, because it's also kind of hard for you to see where you're going to.
Yeah.
So give that a whirl.
Okay.
All right.
So I don't really have a stunt or an aspect to fate point on that. So I'm just
there is Under the Stars, which kind of indicates that like it's particularly like dark and open.
Oh, that's right.
In this area.
Yeah.
So you could potentially use that if you wanted to.
So you said the difficulty was a 3, so I'd still tie with a minor.
It would be success with a minor cost.
Okay. Well, I'm going to spend the fate point to invoke Under the Stars.
All right.
And minor cost.
Well,
is it too much? I haven't played enough Fate. Is it too much to ask what that minor cost might be, or should I just?
Yeah, no. You can absolutely ask what the cost is, and then make your determination. The cost in this instance is going to be time. You're going to get there at a key moment, but not before the ritual is completed. Hopefully.
I feel like that's pretty dramatic, though. I like that. So I'll take that. Like I'm just like sidewinding all over and like zigging when they're zagging and jumping down into like a furrow of dirt, or like maybe there's like rows for like growing shit out here. I don't know, but
absolutely.
But I'm making my way over there.
All right. So meanwhile, back in the tent, Pierre, Jude basically kind of like indicates the like nearly complete ritual and says, have at it. What would you like to do, Pierre?
So my job is to complete the ritual, right?
That is correct.
So I think I have to use lore, right? I mean, it's not really.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a lore roll.
So unless there's any subtlety to this, I think so what I'm going to do is review it. Tell me the ritual, what form does the ritual take? Is this writings on the ground in circles, or
the biggest component of this is the concoction that gets ingested. Okay. So I leave it up to you whether that is kind of like eating a substance or smoking a substance. Pardon me. But basically the ingestion is what is the like mind altering thing. There are other parts of the ritual that can be added to it that can be like, singing, praying, etc. I leave the specific details to your imagination to come up with if you want, but generally you do have to like ingest something.
Okay. And it's not quite complete, right?
That's correct.
they've tried it and it hasn't worked or something.
Well,
So
they're uncertain about what they have. And since they have you now, you can basically help them kind of complete it. You know, I'm literally thinking of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, where like, you know, the Nazis are like, send a couple of people in, they get beheaded. And then it's like, all right, well, now we've got to motivate, you know, Indy, kind of thing. The way this works is, so your stunt hasn't come into play yet. I'm going to allow your stunt to add +2 to your lore skill for this roll, even though it's technically an overcome roll, because otherwise, like, that stunt has kind of laid fallow for this game, and that's not fun. So the bad news is that the difficulty is an 8 to complete the ritual. Now, you do have 2 free invokes on nearly complete ritual, so that, you know, it could possibly go all right.
Okay. So that, I mean, that gets me to a 6. So, but I also have at least 1 fate point. All right. So, the ritual is that there's a whole bunch of ingredients that have to be gathered and boiled together to make a potion to drink. And the person who is doing the transcendence drinks it while there's specific Pawnee prayer recited by someone else. And I'm thinking our friend Jude has the knowledge to recite that prayer in support of this.
Sure.
Okay.
All right.
So now I'm going to make my lore roll.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything I do to throw the stunt into?
No, we'll just have to add it to the total.
Okay.
All right. So that is a 0 with your lore skill, which comes to a 2 with your stunt. And then, like I said, there are 2 free invokes on nearly complete ritual, which if you use both of them takes you from a 2 to a 6. Okay. So your option at this point is you can spend 1 fate point on nearly complete ritual, or one of your other aspects to get to an 8, which would be success at a minor cost.
Okay. Why don't I spend the nearly complete ritual invoke? Spend a fate point to invoke nearly complete ritual.
Go ahead and do so.
Okay.
All right. Now that is if we left it there, that's success at a minor cost if you decided that you wanted to succeed, or you could fail. However, I'm a GM and I have a pool of fate points too. I haven't used any yet, so I'd really kind of like to start spending my fate points.
Of course you would.
Yeah. I am going to spend oh goodness. I'm going to spend a fate point on Under the Stars. Okay. As you're like doing this ritual, this is a traditional Pawnee ritual. And the fact that like the main prayer speaker is this American CIA agent is actually working against you, because they do not have the connection to like nature. They have like, it's enough that they've got a connection to the land, because they do have a connection to this idea of America being here, but they don't have a connection to the nature of the place. And that disconnect is making it difficult to do what needs to be done. So you are now sitting on an 8, and the difficulty is up to 10.
So I have a fate point left.
Yes.
And I've invoked Professor Emeritus. I haven't.
You have not used Professor Emeritus in this role. You spent a fate point on nearly complete ritual, but not any of your personal aspects yet.
Okay, so I'll invoke that and take me to 0 fate points.
All right. That is success at a minor cost. I'm going to say, Trying to think of a good minor cost that isn't a major cost. I'm just looking at Sorry, I'm blanking on a minor cost because I know what I want to have happen next. Oh, you know what? You know what's a good minor cost? I'm going to create a boost for the for Jude to use. Basically, like, you ingesting this stuff has made you kind of like, you know, dizzy and a little bit out of your head. Not very much so, but I'm going to give him a boost to represent that. I, as a GM, never name my boosts because, like, they're so fleeting. Naming them doesn't really mean anything. Because if it goes too long and you don't remember why you got a boost, just get rid of it because it didn't come up fast enough anyway. And so, like, he's going to get a boost out of this. What happens, Pierre, as your kind of like consciousness expands, you see that, like, the mirror long ago was like uncovered at some point during the ritual so that, like, you know, everybody could kind of see what was going on. As you like begin to kind of like transcend, the structure that you're in kind of like almost like melts away. The stars kind of like come swooping in. Excuse me. And you actually, the people like looking in the mirror kind of are seeing like what you're seeing. And all of a sudden the like mirror bursts. And as it bursts, like the inside of this structure, like, is the reality that you're in, that transcendental like place wherever you are, is like everybody's reality inside of this tent. Or inside of this structure. So basically, like, the structure itself is kind of like faded away. You feel that like you're in a different place. You're still like the planes are all there, but it's almost as if it is like, it's not dark out there. Like, there's like almost like starlight lighting everything. And the, like, beyond where the structure was, you don't see the cars. You don't see like anything other than like the natural like land itself. Off in the distance though, you begin to hear a hissing sound, and hear something kind of skittering towards you.
So am I the only one there, or did everybody inside this tent come with me to this place?
Everyone inside this tent came with you. So there are 2 like unnamed CIA agents and Jude.
Okay, right, because Daisy was out with, and is Jason in the tent and with us?
He is, good question. Quinn, do you want to be in the tent before the ritual happens or after the ritual happens? I will leave that up to you.
I kind of like after, if I can still like join them in this place.
That I won't answer. I'm just asking if you want to be there before or after.
I'll do before, and I'm sneaking up on the back of to the back of Jude. I told him he has a meal that I promised him.
All right. So from your perspective, Quinn, you sneak into the tent and you get quite a stroke of luck because you're actually behind the mirror, like on the back side of the mirror. So like no one can see you. Like it was pretty fortunate the way that you came in. And as you see like the structure kind of fade away and the stars kind of like come cycling through and in, your arm that's kind of like sitting there by your side, limp because you can't control it yet. Power just comes straight out of it. Like it glows in a way that it has never glowed for you before. And it basically kind of like arcs straight into the back of the mirror. And the mirror shatters. Basically, like, you're kind of standing there. You've got, like, Jude has his back to you, and you see Pierre a little bit out of his mind, and there's a couple of CIA agents. You also hear a hiss and some scuttling coming your, like, direction as well.
I want to, as much as I want to make Jude eat this gun, I really don't like the sound of that. I turn around behind me, like, real quick to see if there's something about to get me.
Yeah. So kind of like as you turn around, you see that there is a snake that is basically kind of like the thickness of like a chunky American. All right. And it kind of like brings its head up and it kind of like stares down at you, and it and kind of like bows its head reverently towards you.
Oh shit. Okay. I kind of like look over, like lean back and like look at Pierre, and like, does he like notice me, like make eye contact? Pierre, what are you doing right now?
Can I do that? If I can, I would.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I make eye contact. Do I know what this snake is? Presumably it's some part of Pawnee lore.
You do. You do indeed. In fact, so in Pawnee lore, the number 10 has had significance for them. This is because the evening star placed 10 obstacles in the way of her suitor, the morning star. Not Lucifer, the morning star, but Pawnee's morning star. Different kind of morning. One of the hindrances was basically like chaos. This is the like world creation myth. There was an endless sheet of water presided over by the great serpent. The morning star threw a ball of fire at the serpent, which caused the serpent to flee beneath the waves. So basically, your guess is that this is that serpent.
Okay.
At least that's in theory.
Okay.
So
I kind of do like a this at you, Pierre. Like what do I do?
So
you also see that I have one of the Daisy's pistol in my hand.
Okay. And you've got your arms all fired up.
He still doesn't have control over that arm, but it is glowing, like with just this like just raging color coming out of it. In fact, it's a color that you see, but you can't give it a name because it's not in the visible spectrum.
Coming out of the arm.
Yeah.
So going back to the top, this is about Tirawa.
That's
and
right.
The two stars underneath, the morning star and the evening star, and this snake was responsible for keeping the separation between the morning star.
Was one of the like represented one of the 10 obstacles in the way. Now, eventually, the morning star and the evening star get together and they create the first human, a woman, but. This is apparently where the serpent is now, what he's doing with his retirement.
So is there anything in my training, my learning, my knowledge that gives me any sense at all of any of this? Like, what am I trying to get with regard to Tirawa?
Well, the research that you did was said that there was, if you can get to like wherever the Pawnee kept their like cache of like this item or items, imagine like your Red Skull looking for the Tesseract. You know, okay. Like you're kind of trying to find like this, like ancient power source of some like indescribable power. And so your research led you to the Pawnee people, and turns out that it is stored in an extra dimensional space, in this transcendental space.
Actually, I turn away from Pierre and like I'm like looking at my hand and like really noticing like this knot color, and like I just like hold it up and I'm going like that towards the snake and just taking a gamble on it.
The snake lets you kind of like touch the bridge of its kind of nose.
I point at Pierre and said like, he's a good one, and then the other three, and they're like, they're not good ones.
Give me a rapport roll. I'm going to set the difficulty for this at a 4 because you're trying to communicate with this snake. And I don't think you've got much of a shared language.
No. I don't think "don't we know each other" will work too well.
Yeah. Pierre, do you have I'm trying to see if you've got any ranks in rapport. You do not, but you have ranks in lore. I imagine that Pierre speaks the Pawnee language of Caddo. And so if you wanted to, you could give a +1 to Quinn's roll.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Usually with teamwork and fate, it has to be like the same. You have to be at least one rank in the same skill. But
okay.
I'm real gray on that. Like if it seems to make sense in the teamwork with aspects and stuff like that,
Sure.
I usually let it go. And so in this instance, I will as well. So like I said, the difficulty is a 4, Quinn. At least I think that's what I said. If it wasn't, okay, good. All right.
So it'll be whatever this is +1. Plus a 2.
All right.
But I am gonna spend what's the math on that? I'm not so great at.
Yeah, that is a 2 against a difficulty of 4. So if you spend a fate point, you will tie.
Right.
Which would be success at a minor cost.
Yeah, I'll just spend the fate point to boost it rather than reroll. Like.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No. It is 3 minuses or 4 minuses.
Yeah. The probability,
Yeah. So what?
Oh, you're saying 3 or 4 minuses is where I should probably roll?
Where you should re-roll. In this instance, I wouldn't re-roll because spending 1 fate point will get you success at a minor cost, which isn't bad. But you have to have an aspect to justify it.
Oh shit. Okay. I guess I don't then.
I don't know. Think about what's happened so far. I think maybe you do have an aspect that could justify it.
Oh yeah, I could. I mean, maybe the stunts could work.
No, stunts aren't aspects.
Oh, sorry. Or so don't we know each? Oh,
unknown power source.
Yeah, the trouble. Yeah.
Like you have no idea what this. Yeah, you've got no idea what this thing does. I don't have any idea what this thing like what this power source is.
Right. Yeah, so Quinn, I'm just sweating profusely as I'm just like thinking to myself like hope this works, or like, like I open my palm to it and I spend that fate point on that trouble to get me up to a 4.
All right.
And I'm like closing my eyes and I'm like this by now.
All right. I am going to so the minor cost.
Well,
I don't know if
a +1 on this, right? Because of my help.
No, but I rolled a total of 1, and then your 1 got me to 2, and then my fate point gets me to 4.
Okay.
Yeah, I wish I could add in like a little +1 static modifier on Fari.
Yeah, it would be nice if you could actually do that. I agree. All right, so this is my proposal for a minor cost. It doesn't feel like a minor cost, but I think it might be. My proposal for a minor cost is that kind of like as you're touching like the snake and trying to kind of convince it that like the 3 CIA agents are, not good, that whatever the power source is in your arm like begins glowing even more and kind of slags its way through your arm and falls to the ground. And you see there on the ground is a basically an ancient carving Pawnee carving of, I don't know anything that would be authentic because I didn't do that much research in the little time that I had. So I'm going to say like maybe it's maize,
Okay.
you know, and like it's just basically like just glowing with all sorts of colors, both colors that you grew up with and colors that like, you know, someday humanity may be able to see. And basically like you get the feeling that this is one of the Pawnee artifacts. So the minor cost is basically that it melts through your arm and your like, or like the steel hand, like bits that you have. And
Yeah.
basically the minor cost is that that's not really going to work. So
Yeah.
it doesn't feel minor, but we're almost at the end. So that's why I think it's a minor.
I feel like it'd be like, you know, changing the high concept, or I would like try and like now break into Tesla's lab and steal like a new power source.
Yeah, it would like it fuels future stuff, but
right, exactly.
All right.
Plus,
So
he got the artifact still.
what was that, Craig?
Plus, he still has the artifact. It's just not in the form it was.
Well, it's not like it was encased in the hand. But
I'm afraid to touch it now. Like I noticed like the weight and like my arm feels weird and like broken now. And I like look down and I like see the hole burn through. And I don't have asbestos gloves. I'm not touching this.
Okay.
So yeah, you indicate that the snake basically just like goes right after the CIA agents, and has a fine meal of CIA agents. Just basically with like 3 gulps, it like swallows them whole. So let's see. Pierre, what would you like to do?
What would I like to do? I yell over to Quinn, what the hell do we do now?
I like run over to you and I'm like, grab the other dose and let's go. Like, I don't want to stay. Do you?
I kind of do, but
now's the time. Make your choice, Pierre.
So how did the snake react to Quinn's arm disintegrating?
It basically Quinn was pulling like more power from whatever was powering his arm to make a connection with the snake. So the snake reacted positively to it.
To the arm disintegrating.
To what fell out of not to the arm disintegrating, but whatever is inside. Yeah, whatever is powering his hand.
As like a holder of this object, and like it liked that I used to be the holder of it or something.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm torn because this is freaky as all get out, but this is what I live for, right? I mean, this is Indiana Jones in the whatever, the ultimate thing. So I'm sort of curious, but I'm also scared because of the great big snake. But the great big snake seems to be playing nicely with Quinn. So is there a way out? Could we get out if we wanted to?
I will say that like GM speaking, we're wrapping up. So the question is like, I'm giving you an opportunity to narrate, like, do you leave the artifact here? Do you like decide that like Pierre is going to stay in this transcendental realm? Like I'm giving you a chance to kind of narrate this ending because the antagonists have been resolved. And so I'm giving you a chance to like
okay.
tighten the bow. Yeah.
So Pierre, I'll go to the edge of the tent and be like, I've seen some weird shit over there in the war. Nothing as weird as this, but I've seen people come back again. If you want to stay, maybe one other day, or you want to go with me right now? And I hold open the tent flap for like both of us to go.
Quinn, you have been a great friend. Thank you for everything. I'm sorry we did not get along, but I will stay. And good luck to you.
I give you like a nod, and I don't think or look at the snake. I just go.
All right. So Quinn, you leave the tent. Do you look back?
Yeah. Like, what is it? Like
Sure.
I just rush out and like I'm like ready to like punch with my good hand like the first CIA agent, but like I look back just
you look back and you see like inside the tent, you see that the CIA agents, the Jude and the other two, like they're like it's not the like whatever other realm it is back to Earth. And you see them basically kind of like all three of them, they're lying on the ground, presumably dead. But you do not see Pierre anywhere on the inside.
I know I didn't. I say au revoir, mon frere, but like in a very much more butchered sort of way. And I start hot wiring the first car I bump into in the blackness of the like what was it called, like the star-filled sky under the stars.
Yep, under the stars. Yes. So you managed to get a car and get out of there.
And the last shot of Pierre is you see his hand reaching toward the glowing maze medallion. And
all
you
right.
don't see him touch it. He's just reaching for it.
Awesome. All right. Cool. So
Very nice.
Great job,
Loved
everybody.
it.
All
We
right.
didn't take a lick of stress. How about that? All those terrible rolls and no stress.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, so like, I know that like stress is supposed to be like a pacing mechanism, but you know, I like to think that I'm really good at giving like juicy compels and decisions that make things seem really complicated, that I'm just like applying stress and consequences sometimes doesn't come up enough. Plus combat can sometimes be a little bit of a slog. And so like in one shots like this, I feel that like focusing too much time on a big conflict, takes away from some of the action. So at the end of all of the gaming sessions that I run, both like, you know, one shots like this and even my home game, I do an exercise that I call Wishes and Stars. And what Wishes and Stars is you may have heard of it as like roses and thorns or something like that.
Yeah, okay.
But basically like something that you wish could have gone differently or wish would have been better. And stars are like the stars of the show, like your favorite moments. And I'd like to hear from both of you, like one or both of those things.
Well, stars was like I liked letting us jump in at dramatic moments, especially for me. I took time as like a consequence a lot. Mm-hmm. So like letting me like jump in the back of the car, and then turning it around anyways with like us flipping the car. Mm-hmm. And then also stepping into the tent at like the right moment. It felt very like movie like. And I've heard that like Fate is supposed to be like simulate fiction, not reality. And it definitely felt like that, but like not in a way that really made me like think about it. It's just like, oh yeah, we'll be like dramatic and cool. And like you really delivered on that.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you.
I got to think about wishes, but maybe Craig, you want to go ahead?
Yeah. I mean, I can't remember the last time I was a PC in a game. So for me, this was so much fun. You know, and I don't really run one shots. So the idea that all this was nothing 3 hours ago blows my mind. So huge kudos to you, Randy, for pulling this off and rethreading it back together. Right? I mean, because it's not really a wish in a the observation I have is how tricky it is not knowing either of you, and not to interfere with where you're trying to go, not to interfere with something Jason's trying to do, but also to be taking action, right? Because games are all about taking action. And Fate's all about pushing things, right? Yeah. So doing that, and there are a few times when for a minute I felt like I'd accidentally stepped in front of Jason, particularly with me going to taking the potion, right? Doing the ritual. But I love how you made it all work. And I love that Jason got to play the perfect role of the guy who saves the day. So you pulled it all together in a great way. If we'd known each other, I would have been a lot less worried about accidentally, stepping wrong. I would have, Jason and I would have had a relationship that I wouldn't have worried about it, and I would have trusted that you could pull it all back together. Mm-hmm. But that, I think, is the nature of a one shot with people you don't know.
Indeed.
But you totally landed it. I mean, I couldn't have. It couldn't have. Rolling the car and all of
that was amazing. The car roll stuff
and the CIA and the ritual and the snake. It just all seemed like it melded together, and that was you doing that. So yay.
Well, a little bit, this is one of my stars, is that the two of you wrote great characters. So you wrote aspects that, gave you advantages and helped tell a story, and so what it did was it allowed us to play off of each other and, really managed to, create those connections. Like, I think that we managed to bring in like all of your aspects throughout the game, like the French top secret troubleshooter, extreme measures, Professor Emeritus, has a steel hand, isn't afraid to use it, unknown power source, and don't we know each other?
Yep.
Like we hit, like it was a greatest hits of all of the aspects. They didn't all get compelled, but they everything got used. Like there was no part of the buffalo that went unused,
right?
Here. Yeah, so you wrote great characters and you leaned into things, and so you both deserve kudos too.
Well, thanks. Yeah. I think it just helped that we started with a traditional, or not traditional, but classic buddy sort of thing of a bit of a yin, bit of a yang, not completely, not totally, I was definitely not a dumb brute, and Pierre wasn't, just all books and thumbs,
Yeah. I really enjoyed the inversion of the adventure movie trope. So talking about Indiana Jones and the Mummy and, a lot of that stuff. The fact that you go to a foreign land, you're trying to find these artifacts in the foreign land, everything's a big mystery, I'm just how about we flip that on its head? As part of this. That's why I was really happy that it was okay, so a Frenchman coming to America to find ancient American artifacts, like the Pawnee, and trying to, in the very limited time that we had, respectfully invert that trope. And I think we did that really well. I did enough research about the Pawnee that I was talking about the Pawnee and not about Native American, I know one thing that kind of irritates me is Native American is there's a lot of peoples there. They're not one homogenous people. And the same with when people refer to when people say oh, there's Great Britain and Portugal and Africa. It's Africa is a wealth of nations, many, many different nations. Which nation are you talking about? It's not just one big thing. And so it was really nice to visit that trope from a different angle, because I'm I would love to see that movie. That would be awesome, but Hollywood will not make it.
Actually, so that brings up a wish. I definitely wish we could have spoken with some Pawnee folks.
Yeah.
Or they were I mean, we have a short amount of time, so having another faction in the mix, not wanting the CIA there would have probably, if we had another hour maybe, especially with the way you move things pretty quickly along. But having them definitely have some skin in the game, because they just do. It's always been stuff being taken from them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that, it's not really a wish or a star, but having the CIA as the antagonist confused the hell out of me, because I couldn't figure out if they were really good guys or really bad guys. Were we lined up on the same team, but bumping against each other, or the whole thing with the red color off of that guy? I think in retrospect, you were saying this guy's a full-on fanatic, and therefore they were really more bad guy antagonists.
Yes, they were definitely.
Yeah.
I just got done listening to all of like a 2-part like podcast series called Behind the Bastards. Well, the podcast is called Behind the Bastards, and I just listened to a 2-part series about Panama and all the things CIA did. Like, well, I listened to the Dulles brothers and how the CIA was formed for various reasons. And then I listened to the Panama episodes and how the CIA like did a lot of things in Latin America. And so I am not in the mind to think of the CIA as good guys.
Don't trust any 3-letter agency.
Yeah. Right. But I understand that like different people have different understandings of what some of these institutions mean. And so I get why that was a little bit confusing.
Yeah. If I was less aggressive with them, it's because I didn't have a clear enemy there. If they've been Nazis or communists or pick your favorite clear group.
Yeah, I thought you were going to stick with the Rocketeer and have them be secret Nazis.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that I tricked you all.
Yeah, it was great. I haven't made time for it, but I know that you posted at least 1 or 2 of your other Hanz group sessions. So now I really want to go back and like watch those, because usually they get tiresome for me. Like, I really enjoy Critical Role just for their character, but like all the D&D stuff tires me out, especially when they get in a fight.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times, listening to other more story gamey stuff, there's like a lot of discussion about like what we really want or mean, or like what's, in the fiction and whatnot. And we did do that here, but it just definitely seemed, I don't know, it flowed really well. And so I really want to see like how the other groups, especially since you said they've all been different and like one of them was like really wild and out there or something.
Yeah. Yeah. There have been a bunch of them. I tell you what, why don't we go ahead and stop the recording?
Oh, yeah, sure.
And I'm going to go ahead and do that.